Good afternoon. The Southport Board of Aldermen, July 9th, 2026 meeting is now called to order. Thank you to those in attendance and to those watching remotely. I would like to welcome everyone and to let everyone know that Alderman Lowe Davis, she is with us. You can see the LD on the board there. She has not been feeling well, so she has elected to join us remotely. So just wanted to let you know about that. Our invocation this evening will be given by Pastor Varnum. He is with the Southport Baptist Church. This will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Let us pray. Our gracious Father, as we come to you tonight, God, we just want to thank you for being able to live in such a place like this. God, thank you for those that you have established in leadership, God. God, thank you for this past week and the 4th of July where we could celebrate 250 years of freedom. But God, ultimately, we are thankful for the freedom we found in you, where 2,000 years ago you died upon a cross for our sins. God, be with this meeting tonight. May you go before us. In Jesus' name and your name only, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, Pastor Varnum. Indeed, we should be so grateful and thankful for our wonderful 250th celebration. So thank you for your continued prayers and your continued pastorship at the Southport Baptist Church. Before we continue with the agenda, I want to say what a wonderful 4th of July celebration we've had. The winds of freedom and the salubrious breezes embraced our city, our citizens, and the many family, friends, and visitors that rejoiced in this homecoming of freedom and liberty. The events, a number of them held in this room. The parade, our thanks to WECT for televising, and what a delight to have Southport native Randy Aldridge as one of the news commentators at the parade. This is 58th parade on his 60th birthday on the 4th of July. And the fireworks, all spectacular. I want to thank the North Carolina 4th of July Festival Committee, the over 90 volunteers, the City of Southport employees, and all who were involved in making this 250th celebration of our independence possible. My deepest gratitude and appreciation. I'm sure you all saw the Pilot magazine. And inside on this page, the back page, we are grateful for the 2026 festival leaders and volunteers. I hope everyone will read this again, save this magazine, and when you see these people, thank them, for what they have accomplished. It was a wonderful collaboration of the festival committee, volunteers, and the City of Southport, and all the city employees who worked so hard to make the 4th of July, this 250th, the tremendous event that it was. And events we had, from the welcoming reception here in the community building, hosted by the Southport Women's Club and sponsored by the Southport Lions Club. At the reception, I read a proclamation in honor of the 250th celebration and the NC 4th of July Festival Committee, and presented a key to the city to Festival President Hugh Fosbury, and thanking the committee for putting on this over a week-long celebration. At the reception, in attendance were previous past festival presidents, an esteemed club, and of course, including former past president and volunteer for over 50 years, and this year's honorary parade marshal, Mr. Wayne Berry. Welcoming ceremony on the Garrison Lawn, with Fort Johnston's significant history noted, and the fort decorated by the Southport Garden Club in red, white, and blue, gave the perfect backdrop for the welcoming ceremony, sponsored by the Lions Club, and including a reenactment of the first 4th of July in Southport. Events returned from the past and new ones added for the 250th, the Miss North Carolina 4th of July pageant, the Patriots Ball, Colonial Dinner, and the Dog Marshal Contest. The 250th celebrated the naturalization ceremony, salute to veterans, firefighters competition, gospel fest, arts and crafts, food vendors, waterfront park music, and of course, to end the day, the fantastic fireworks display in the Southport sky over the Cape Fear River. I'm so proud and appreciative of everyone involved. Our city employees, our chiefs and their departments, Fire Chief Charles Drew, Police Chief Todd Coring, who coordinated security with Sheriff Brian Chisholm and the Brunswick County Sheriff's Department and other agencies, Battalion Chief Ralph Treadway, Public Works and Director Tom Stanley, making sure vendors had power and had the city looking good and ready for business on July 5th. Community Relations Director Elena Taylor, and the city staff working with her, Jesse LaBelle, Karen Martin, and Gianna Vassallo. And our aldermen who served on the festival committee, Alderman and Southport native Mark Spencer and Alderman Rebecca Kelly, who both actively worked events to help with the success of the festival. And my thanks to City Manager Noah. Thank you. It is now my honor and pleasure to introduce someone who has been an advocate for Southport in the legislature. We thank him for the funding he has secured for our infrastructure projects, shoreline stabilization, regionalization of sewer and water, and stormwater mitigation. And we especially thank him for his friendship and leadership. A son of Southport and a friend for decades, Representative Charlie Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and board. Glad to be here tonight. Glad to be out of Raleigh for a little while, but just wanted to come and share a few things with you. Myself and Senator Rabin have been able to secure some funding. One of the major projects here in Southport that we've all been working towards is the Bonnets Creek drainage issue. We've secured $1.5 million to fix that. Chief Coring was here somewhere. I think we've got him about 106. There he is, $106,000 for the upgrade of his in-car computers. But the thing that I'm most proud of, the festival is very special to me. That Randy, I think, must have missed two. I don't think I've missed any, and I'm the same age as Randy. He's a little bit younger than me, but not much. But anyhow, that was my 60th, and Hugh, y'all just knocked it out the park. I mean, I went home after the parade and told my wife, I said, that's probably the best parade I've ever been in Southport. It was, everybody was together, clapping, just having a great time. But the funding that we were able to secure that I'm most proud of, I don't think has ever happened to the festival. My mom was the president in 1987, and you to do it. And it's your money. It's everybody's money. It's not my money. It's everybody's money. So we're glad to bring it back to Southport. So if you want to come up and let me present you this, would you like to say something?
Actually, I would just for a moment. I just want to say thank you, Charlie, for the support that you've offered us and shown us. I know you've been working on this for a while now. This is not easy. We had originally asked for a smaller amount, and you came through with double what the number that we'd originally asked for. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that.
And let me add, Brett McKeithen is actually who got this started a year and a half ago. He called me and said, man, can you get us some money? And we tried, and the budget took a little longer than anticipated. And, when we were in the final days of the budget, we were able to double that amount. So we're happy to do that.
That's fantastic. We really appreciate that. And I just kind of want to also acknowledge Mayor Hayden did give the festival the key to the city, have it right here. We're going to put it in a nice shadow box. So thanks so much. That kicks us off. And between the support from the city, you mentioned all the different agencies that were remarkably supportive, from Chief Drew, from Chief Coring to Tom Stanley's team to our phenomenal administration team. We could not have done it without you. Fantastic. But the support of the city and also the county gave us $25,000 this year, which is spectacular. And now the state, $100,000. So this is a first. So it's kind of a trifecta. So thank you so much for everyone's support on this. And it was a great 250th from my standpoint. And I actually would like to get everyone for the picture, if I could, everyone that stood up, would like to get everyone in the photo if we can, please, for the check presentation.
And let me add one more thing. One of my favorite days is July 5th, like everybody else. But I get up early on July 5th and I ride through town every year. Tom Stanley and crew knock it out of the park. You couldn't even tell there's really nothing that ever happened down here. There's a few ice machines or something or barricades somewhere, but the streets were clean. The waterfront was open. Amazing staff. So I salute them.
Okay, everybody up. Everybody who is standing, please come up and
Oh, I don't know.
All right, I'll spread out with the. Yeah, I got everybody.
Make extra copies of that. We'll have them autographed. We'll sell them for next year, right? Here we go. Start the first fundraiser. All righty. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you, Representative Miller. I mean, that is just a very gracious gift and something that's needed, and the festival will put it to good use. So thank you, and just marvelous. Next, I would like to call upon Chief Coring, and he's going to give us an update on July 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to come in briefly. It's a good time to have the audience that we have with, of course, you folks and the Board of Directors of the 4th of July, so I don't have to do this kind of twice, but I just wanted to brief everybody on an after-action report for the 4th of July. So the 2026 North Carolina 4th of July Festival America 250 celebration. Anniversary celebration as it comes to a close, I'm pleased to provide an overview of this year's public safety operations and the extraordinary collaborative efforts that contributed to one of the most successful celebrations in the city's history. This year's celebration brought record crowds to Southport for numerous festival events, including the firefighter competition, the 5K Freedom Run, street dances, parade, and annual fireworks display. Given the historic significance of the America 250 anniversary, extensive planning began back in February through the coordination and partnership of the Southport Police Department and the North Carolina 4th of July Board of Directors. Recognizing the anticipated increase in attendance, additional law enforcement personnel, specialized response teams, and public safety resources were requested well in advance. These preparations ensured that our city was equipped to safely host one of the largest celebrations in our history. Public safety overview. Throughout the festival, the Southport Police Department documented approximately 298 police actions consisting of a variety of law enforcement and public service responses. Notable incidents to include only 2 arrests. Proud of that. You know, we had a large crowd, so only had 2 arrests that we reported during the festival. 2 reports of lost children, both safely located and reunited with their families. Some minor traffic collisions. And we did have 1 reported suspicious package following the parade that prompted some temporary road closures and precautionary safety measures before being determined it was unfounded. Most importantly, there were no major criminal incidents or significant public safety events, allowing our residents and visitors alike to enjoy the celebration safely. Traffic management success. Following the fireworks display, the department again implemented the outbound traffic plan utilizing 2 outbound lanes on Howe Street. This traffic management strategy originated in 2019. Again, it's proved highly successful by managing thousands of vehicles safely out of the city in record time. Several improvements were incorporated into the plan this year, including allowing selected downtown side streets to exit out onto Moore Street before directing them to Leonard and Rob Gandy Boulevard. These modifications significantly improved the evacuation of vehicles from the downtown business district, Yacht Basin, West Castle, and Atlantic Avenue. To further enhance traffic operations, additional electronic message boards have been requested through the North Carolina Department of Transportation and strategically are placed along Howe Street, River Road, and NC 211 to improve traveler information and directional messaging. The PD also pushed multiple messages via our PD app, social media outlets throughout the festival. Enhanced public safety resources. Several operational enhancements were added this year to improve safety and emergency response capabilities. Additional portable light towers were obtained and deployed throughout downtown, including West Moore Street and West 9th Street, significantly improving pedestrian visibility and safety in heavily traveled areas and around the trolley parking locations. An additional 25 ADA handicap parking spaces were established on Nash Street this year to better accommodate visitors with mobility needs. For the first time, an additional fully staffed public safety command post was established on Bay Street adjacent to Oliver, staffed by Southport police officers, Southport fire personnel, EMTs, and paramedics. This location proved invaluable during periods of extreme heat and heavy pedestrian traffic by placing emergency personnel closer to the largest concentration of our visitors. Additionally, the Emergency Operations Center was fully activated and staffed at the Southport Fire Headquarters, remaining prepared throughout the event should any significant incident require coordinated emergency management. Regional public safety partnerships. The success of this year's festival is made possible through exceptional regional partnerships involving more than 220 law enforcement officers and numerous public safety professionals representing local, county, state, and federal agencies. Participating agencies include some 47 police officers from across Brunswick County through the 14 police departments in North Carolina, 41 Brunswick County Sheriff's Deputy Patrol, 12 undercover investigators from our sheriff's office, 40 North Carolina State Highway Patrol troopers, United States Coast Guard Station, Oak Island, North Carolina Marine Fisheries, North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, and the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office Marine Patrol combined to protect our waterways and had high visibility during our festival operations on the waterfront. Oak Island Fire Department supported us with a drone team. And the North Carolina State Highway Patrol Special Response Team was in Southport helping us with several operations. In addition, the event benefited from an expanded command presence, including numerous police chiefs, Brunswick County Sheriff's Office Command, North Carolina Highway Patrol Command staff, and other regional public safety partners who assisted their operation, oversight, and coordination throughout the celebration. The professionalism and seamless cooperation demonstrated by every agency exemplified the strength of our regional public safety partnerships, and I can't speak about that enough. Appreciation in closing. Hosting the North Carolina 4th of July Festival is a tremendous responsibility and one that requires months of planning, preparation, and coordination among countless organizations. I extend my sincere appreciation to every law enforcement officer, firefighter, paramedic, emergency manager, dispatch, volunteer, city employees, city public works, festival organizers who dedicated and helped to ensure the safety of our residents and hundreds and thousands of visitors who joined us during this historic celebration. Whether providing high visibility patrols, directing traffic, staffing command posts, monitoring waterways, responding to medical or fire emergencies, operating specialized equipment, or simply assisting visitors, every member of our unified team demonstrated exceptional professionalism, commitment, and pride to our public service agencies. The coordination and teamwork and mutual respect displayed throughout this organization and operation resulted in a celebration that was both safe and memorable for everyone in attendance. I'd like to thank our mayor, our board of aldermen, city manager Noah Saldo, city staff, the North Carolina 4th of July Board of Directors, and the citizens of Southport for your continued support of public safety initiatives. Your commitment allows us to effectively prepare for events of this magnitude while showcasing our community in every of its best light. It is incredibly rewarding to see the months of planning culminate in such a successful outcome. I'm proud of what was accomplished by our officers and the many public safety partners, and I look forward to building upon these successes as we continue moving and serving for the city of Southport. And again, I just want to echo this cannot be done alone. We are a small department of only 25. That's including our part-time staff. Again, lots of planning went into this festival. 4th of July is pretty much one of my very stressful times as a police chief because we have large crowds and people in and out of Southport. And of course, we can't never forget what happened in September. But I feel very confident that everything went very well this year. And again, I appreciate our citizens mostly because you opened up, we opened the city up for thousands of folks and it was a safe time. So thank you for allowing me the time and appreciate you.
Thank you, Chief. That was certainly just a major collaboration. It's like a symphony of security. And thank you for that and the way you organized it. Everyone felt safe, and it was just a marvelous event. And so much goes on that we do not see. So thank you again. Thank you to the festival committee, the volunteers, and everyone who helped to make it possible. But thank you. Next, what I would like to do is I have a presentation, just an award presentation. And if Karen and Gianna could join me, please. This is a certificate of award proudly presented to the Southport Community Building for being named WWAY 2026 Viewers' Choice Award winner for Best Wedding Venue. So congratulations. Congratulations to Karen Taylor and Gianna Basalo for their creativity, for their work, and their dedication to making this the best wedding venue in Brunswick County. So, and we're so happy that they received this award. The next item is item E, public comment. Make sure that the microphone is on, state your name, address, topic, and there's a 3-minute limit. So, Madam Clerk.
Rich Alt.
My name is Rich Holt, and I live at 6165 Cottage Creek Road in the city of Southport. And Chief Coring, that was a spectacular event. Having 200 extra officers and the span of control is a very hard thing to do. And I made it home after the fireworks in 10 minutes. That was spectacular. But that's not what I came here to talk about. I came here to talk about the Bonnets Creek culvert. So there's nothing really controversial about that, but I'm going to paraphrase a famous quote: success has many fathers and failure is an orphan. In the case of the NC DOT award for the Bonnets Creek culvert expansion, there are 4 people who are primary in making that happen. So before we have any rewrite of history and people taking credit, you should know who those individuals are. The 4 are Trevor Carroll. Those who do not know Mr. Carroll, he is the NC DOT Wilmington Regional Director for the all transportation issues. The next is Representative Charlie Miller, who just spoke. Senator Rabin, and for the city, it's Rebecca Kelly. The Bonnet Creek project started the day after our no-name tropical depression on September 6, 2024, when we had about 20 inches of rain in 8 hours. As is the case in Hurricane Florence, Southport turned into an island when all the bridges were damaged. Unfortunately, there was no official after-action review after Florence in regard to the bridges, along with a set of requested priorities for the state to address those issues. While there's never been a public, the Representative Miller came to the Southport Incident Command Post and set up a call between myself and the governor. The governor stated that all the state agencies were prepared to help Southport, and 2 days later, then Governor Cooper came to Southport to review the damage, along with the North Carolina Emergency Manager Director, the North Carolina Secretary of Transportation, and the Colonel of the Highway Patrol. This conveyed to the state agencies the need for immediate collaboration with the city. Alderman Kelly had already established a rapport with Trevor Carroll and took on the lead role for communications with NC DOT for the city, with Representative Miller and Senator Rabin's support. The Moore Street Prices Creek Bridge was agreed to, and design started working immediately. In a normal situation, that's 7 years to get that done, as Rebecca will tell you when she goes to the RPO meetings. Alderman Kelly, along with the support of Representative Miller and Senator Rabin, convinced Trevor to review the decades-long issue of the undersized culvert at Moore and Bonnets Creek. NCDOT committed to the feasibility study and cost estimate for the Bonnet Creek culvert that normally would have taken 5 years to complete, and NCDOT did it in less than a year. Representative Miller and Senator Rabin in 2025. Can I actually talk about you, Mark? It's your call, sir.
If you have like, what, 15 seconds?
I'll try to wrap it up
Okay,
really
just wrap
fast.
it up, 15 seconds.
I just want to compliment the people that were involved. That has nothing to do with me. Rabin and Miller put for the money in 2025. We didn't have a budget. The budget came through this year, which is why the money came through. However, including who kept the lights on for this issue, and that is Alderman Gross, Alderman Spencer, and City Manager Saldo kept the lights on and engaged Representative Miller repeatedly on this issue. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the time, sir.
Madam Clerk.
I have an email I'm going to read. Mayor Hatem, Board of Aldermen, I have been living in River Mist for 10 years and vacationing here for 15 years prior to that. River Mist was annexed into Southport approximately 15 to 20 years ago. We have remained a nice, quiet neighborhood. As we get surrounded by developments, there has been a lot of chatter in my neighborhood as to how we can grow together in a safe and cohesive environment. Many concerns regarding previous flooding of several homes and J. Swain Boulevard, our primary road, on September 16th, 2024, and flooding during Florence 6 years prior to that have not faded from our memories. When it rains heavily now, many of my neighbors check their yards hourly to see how high the water line is. I am sure many in Southport go through this. Developing unincorporated Brunswick County parcels that abut Southport and may hamper stormwater runoff and or impact Southport traffic, especially on evacuation routes, should be of concern to all of Southport. The administrative approval of Point Grand has been appealed for various reasons by several residents. This appeal will be heard by the Brunswick County Board of Adjustment at a future date, could be as soon as 8/13/26. The public hearing for PD-179 Southport Meadows, located on River Road, will be held on Monday, July 13th at 6 p.m. at the Brunswick County Planning Board meeting. That development could add as much as 2,000 additional vehicle trips per day. Many will need to attend and oppose that development. Please help us protect and support Southport. We will need help in supporting documentation and clarity on UDOs and the comprehensive plan. In addition, any guidance to specific state statutes that may be needed. Thank you, Shirley Sullivan, 5002 Seaward Court, Southport.
Thank you. Who's next, Madam Clerk?
Donna Jenny.
Good evening. My name is Donna Jenny. I live at 5020 Pierhead Court. I happen to be a neighbor of Shirley Sullivan, and she is enjoying her son's wedding this weekend and couldn't be here. I'm not an activist. I'm not a rebel rouser. What I am is a citizen of Southport and a citizen of River Mist, and I am the president of the POA. I initially started our dialogue with Mayor Hatem, and he graciously responded to me immediately, which I thank you for doing that. I want to say that this is a grassroots moment for me. This is democracy at its finest, when citizens can come to elected officials and say, we need your help. We are surrounded by a property that is being built. It is by the developers of Hill Point, and it is called Point Grand. It is going to house approximately 300 living establishments, condos, and apartments. The problem we have seen is that their water will be coming into, their storm drainage waters will be coming into our properties, our retention ponds. Did they get permission from us to do that? Absolutely not. I dare say they did not get permission from the city either. So we're saying, does the county have the right to approve a development to put water into a county, into the city, instead of dealing with it. Now, we appealed it. We met with the county engineer, storm engineer, and of course, they have lots of money to spend on engineers and lawyers who made this all sound really good. We are David, and we are fighting Goliath. We know that we have to have development coming around here. We're concerned about the overdevelopment with the traffic and electrical grids and the water right in the midst of drought season. But this is our homes. And in a little bit, Shirley spoke about what happened to her $80,000 damage. And Ruthie McDonald will talk about what goes on in her property. One neighbor told me tonight that until they cleared the land, she didn't have a water problem. So we're asking for resources that the city has. Can an engineer talk to us? Can a city attorney talk to us? Somebody to help David combat Goliath. That is what we are so wanting to see happen. It may not change anything. I am a realist. I understand what we're embarking on. But I think as citizens, we've got to start standing up and being responsible neighbors. And corporations need to be responsible to the cities that they're coming into. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Peggy Lacy. Siegfried DeSchmidt.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. My name is Siegfried de Smet, 319 West Brunswick Street. I'm here to urge you not to move forward with the agenda item proposing a Historic Preservation Appearance Commission. On June 11th, I asked this board to make a motion to abolish the Historic Preservation Commission. That motion was rejected on June 17, with the mayor breaking the tie. 3 weeks later, the situation changed significantly. The state legislature has passed a law prohibiting Southport from creating a new aesthetic preservation commission or expanding the existing historic district. That action should have ended this divisive issue and allowed the community to move forward. Instead, less than a week after the state acted, the board appears prepared to consider a new ordinance or mandate that would establish a Historic Preservation Appearance Commission. A 75-page document ready to be voted on, signed off by the city attorney without public input or review and without dialogue with the very residents who have been vocal about this issue. We clearly stated voluntary advisory, not regulatory advisory. We clearly stated no government oversight. You ignored us. We clearly stated neighbors helping neighbors. You do not trust us. We stated clearly that the only support needed from the city would be some space on the city website to publish the historic preservation guidelines for reference. You seem to find this too simple a solution. We clearly stated no taxpayers' money to be spent, given the significant financial challenges the city faces. Against better judgment, you continue to spend taxpayers' money, having the city attorney reviewing this 75-page document and recommending implementing a regulatory administrative process requiring ongoing city resources. I believe this approach is wrong. The only motion the board should vote on tonight is to abolish the HPC ordinance adopted in September 2022 in accordance with state law. I hope you listen this time. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Tom and Jan. Richard Toth? Are we here? Just not speaking. Ruthie McDonald?
Good evening. I'm Ruthie McDonald and I live at 5166 Swashbuckler Way in River Mist. In approximately 2012, my husband and I purchased our property, and during Florence, we were flooded out with over a foot of water in our backyard. Drains had been installed by Pulte in the backyard, but the amount of water that comes over the berm from the property that Tri-City owns floods us out all the time. My husband and I installed a pipe to try to direct the water down into the drains that were installed by Pulte. That worked for us when the cyclone hit. It helped not to flood the yard as much. What my concern is, Tri-City now wants to dump their stormwater into my drain in my yard. The volume of that complex cannot go into that drain. It's only a 24 by 24 by 39 depth. I need someone to help me with this, and I've not had any luck obtaining a lawyer. So I'm asking the city of Southport to please take a look at it. I've tried to contact Point Graham myself. They told me they would send an engineer, but they never did. So I feel at a loss, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Good evening, Mayor, Aldermen, city staff, and fellow citizens. I want to begin by saying thank you to Representative Miller and Senator Rabin for passing legislation banning the establishment of a historic overlay district and a quasi-judicial historic preservation commission in Southport. We were encouraged to know that our state representatives understood the critical need to protect the rights of property owners from government outreach. Unfortunately, based on the proposed Historic Preservation Appearance Commission, HPAC, proposed ordinance, the city has chosen to comply with the letter of the law while ignoring the spirit of the law. Changing the words from historic overlay district to historic study area with the exact same boundaries does not change the intent here. Requiring applicants to have a meeting with the HPAC using subjective words like encourage and educate is not a far cry from the coercion. For example, let's suppose that an applicant complies with the meeting requirement, but moves ahead without any of the commission's recommended changes. What happens? Will the HPAC recognize the limits of its authority, or will they use the other means to achieve their goal? It's disingenuous to say that this is what we asked for. At what point did anyone on this board or its leadership sit with any of those who so strongly opposed the quasi-judicial commission for our thoughts on how to move forward? Instead, it appears that the city was looking for a backdoor to achieve the same thing, but now seems to be prepared to do so through a coercive scheme. And you wonder why there's a lack of trust in our local government. Southport faces many challenges, largely budget related. Having another committee that draws on the time of the staff is not a good means of justifying a bloated headcount. Go back to the drawing board, work with those of us who opposed your first effort, and get away from this death by 1,000 regulations process. And that was Kathy Cabral. That's all.
Is there anyone else, Madam Clerk?
Oh, no, that's it.
Okay, good, good. Okay, thank you. All right. The next item is item F, and that will be approval of the agenda. And on the agenda tonight, we have the Southport Historic Preservation Appearance Commission. We have issue a type of livestock in residential areas. We have the right-of-way ordinance and enforcement. We have the development concerns that we've just heard about near the River Mist community, and the Board of Adjustment appointment. So I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to
move item H1, the FY27 EMS franchise agreement off of consent and move it to the regular agenda, number 1. I don't think this will take too long.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move item H1, the EMS franchise agreement, from the consent agenda to the regular agenda, and it would be item 6. And then approve the 1 through 5 as is. Upset that fellow over there. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Item G is the ethics statement. If any members know of any conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest concerning matters on the agenda, please so state at this time. Any conflicts, board? Okay. Hearing none. Item H, approval of the consent agenda minus item 1, and I would like to review what we have on the consent agenda. The annexation petition clerk certification resolution, H2, that's on page 13. The city received a petition for annexation of 1501 North House Street. The first step in the statutorily required process is for the board to adopt a resolution directing the city clerk to investigate the petition and verify it to the board. After the investigation, notice for a public hearing. And then after the public hearing, the board can then consider adopting an ordinance annexing the requested property. The resolution is on page 13 of your agenda packet. And you will see that this is covered under North Carolina General Statute 160A-31, that the governing board of any municipality shall annex by ordinance any area the population of which is no more than 10% of that of the municipality. And the North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 160A, are the statutes that cover cities and towns. And then the North Carolina General Statute 160A-31C outlines the process for validating voluntary municipal annexation petitions. So I bring this up so the citizens understand the process that the board is having to go through and see what city staff does when there is an annexation or any type of business. Also, you'll see the voluntary annexation application. There's also in here the limited liability company document that's from the Secretary of State, Elaine Marshall. And then also you will see on page 19 a survey, a meets and bounds legal description. And this is used to describe the boundaries of a parcel of land. And if you read the survey, you can see it's interesting, but it's also how easy it is for a spelling error. If you look in the second paragraph, it says mag nail found in the parking lot pavement. What they meant to say was the mag nail is found in the pavement. And what they do, they use a metal detector so they can determine where the corners of a property are. So I thought that was a very clever way of doing it, doing the survey, but also how easy it is to make a spelling error. I struggle with the manager all the time. I tell him, make sure that everything is spelled correctly because we want to do our best in that regard. So anyway, the survey is in there and also the map. So this was quite a process, and I just wanted everyone to kind of understand the process and see how it works. The next H3 is the Bonnets Creek flood reduction design. And this is interesting because the city manager, Gordon Hargrove, and I were in this area in 2020. There was flooding on Fodale, flooding on Stewart. And the problem was, part of it was that culvert at Bonnets Creek. And we had no engineers at the time. So we have engineers now, and we're so grateful for that. And grateful for this stormwater mitigation. And we needed lawyers, we needed engineers, and we needed money. And when you get all three, look what happens. We're going to have this mitigation process, and grateful to Representative Miller and everyone who was involved in bringing this to fruition. And you will see that in your packet, and it's on page 21. And we thank Tom Zelnick for his input in this. And if you look at the acronyms, CLOMR, I don't know if you read that, conditional letter of map revision, the LOMR, letter of map revision. This is quite a process. We have the 404 permit, looking at the wetlands and that type of thing, and the 100-year flood definitions and that type of thing. So it was very complex and complicated, and I appreciate everyone who was working on this, but ultimately it's a way to mitigate this flood issue. And also we have the Alderman meeting minutes from October 6, 2025. And then added, we have to the agenda is a resolution of support for this project, for the culvert replacement at the location of Bonnets Creek and East Moore Street. So with those explanations, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I want to mention the Bonnets Creek. I appreciate all the hard work, and it is, everyone had an input in this. The origination of this idea started in the barber shop with Will Hewitt, myself, and Charlie Miller sitting in the daggone barber chair discussing building a bridge on Bonnets Creek so the water could flow. And that was a expensive proposition. Then I came to a storm one day, and I live a block away, and I was in the middle of a storm, probably Tropical Storm 8. And I took my umbrella and I walked down in the middle of the storm, and I looked at Bonnets Creek, and one side was full while the next was spitting like a pressure washer. I came back and informed the board of that decision. Now, again, I didn't fix the bridge, but the origination started a long time before anybody on this board. And when somebody stands up and said they want to make sure we don't mischaracterize history, they're probably mischaracterizing history. So I appreciate all the efforts. I also want to recognize people that have been disenfranchised in their hard work, like the subdivisions that wrote letters not only to Charlie Miller, but to this board. I guess we've forgotten those letters. They weren't important, but they asked us for the support. Well, I wrote the letters. I helped them write the letters so they could get the support. So characterization of history needs to be for people who understand history. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, and it's a great barbershop. Make sure you keep going there, all of you, as many as you can, support them. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda carried. Thank you. Next will be our agenda, and it will be start with agenda item I1, the Southport Historic Preservation Appearance Commission.
Franchise agreement.
Oh, I thought we did. You want to do it first?
Yeah, he moved it.
Oh, he made it first. I thought I said 6. And that's how I took it. Yeah. Yeah.
He said one.
Well,
So we got, you know, that's one's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
so I was just, when something's added, I just put it at the bottom because, there's already 5 ahead. It's like politeness. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, Alderman. And thank you, Alderman there. So the J, item I1, Southport Historic Preservation Appearance Commission. Again, NC General Statute 160D-304 authorizes local governments to establish a special community appearance commission to advise on local design and aesthetic guidelines. Of note, it's not an HPC. It's not a historic preservation commission. There's no historic overlay district. It's not quasi-judicial. There are no mandates. These are voluntary guidelines. This is what had been requested in listening to our citizens. It does require a one-time informational consultation for certain projects within the historic study area. And these are like new constructions or demolition and that type thing. This provides a framework to access guidelines to advise and educate those who are involved in new construction, major renovations, and want to know more about how to seek historic compatibility and congruity with Southport's historic architectural and design heritage. Again, this is a voluntary advisory committee. There is no HPC. It is not quasi-judicial. It's guidelines. We've seen the signs. The signs were very clear. No HPC, no quasi-judicial, and voluntary advisory committee. We heard this at the public hearing. We heard it at the town hall, and we understand that we want to balance property rights with Southport's historic heritage. So I will, again, it's no HPC, it's not quasi-judicial, there are guidelines, it's a voluntary advisory committee, and property rights are protected. So I'll call on Mayor Pro Tem Karen Mosteller.
Thank you, Mayor. I am introducing the proposed ordinance and guidelines as a discussion tonight because this is the only way that state statute allows us to have an advisory commission. And the reason it's named the Appearance Commission is by state statute, it has to be named Appearance Commission. That's why, otherwise it would have been named committee. So to understand why we are here, we have to look at Southport's 2050 Comprehensive CAMA Plan. This is not just a standard planning document. It is our community's adopted vision for the future. We are required by the General Assembly to maintain an updated land use plan, and we developed this one through an extensive public process starting late in 2023. Hundreds of Southport residents participated via steering committees, stakeholder meetings, surveys, walking tours, and listening sessions. Through that collective effort, our community gave this board a clear responsibility to protect our unique historic character, preserve our natural resources, and manage our growth thoughtfully. Our 2050 plan explicitly identifies Southport as a historic coastal village, establishing a local historic district with design standards was a specific implementation action item identified in the plan to protect our architectural identity. However, our legislative tools have been taken away. Representative Miller and Senator Rabin have enacted a local bill for now and in the future abolishes Southport's ability to establish a local historic district designation. Let's be completely transparent about what this means. Southport is now unique for being the only and the first city in the entire state of North Carolina stripped of this right. It sets a troubling precedent when a a small group of individuals relative to the population of Southport can leverage state representatives to override and invalidate years of work, goals, values established by our community's comprehensive plan. Recognizing 45 days ago that we lacked board support for the original guidelines, I began working on an alternative approach, and with a regulatory historic district off the table, an appearance commission is our remaining option to ensure Southport can still have a structured community conversation about historic preservation. I want to be clear to the public and to this board, there is absolutely no enforcement in these guidelines. During our public comments, we heard over and over again from critics that they wanted a committee that was strictly advisory, not quasi-judicial. This ordinance gives them exactly what they asked for. This framework is based strictly on North Carolina General Statutes 160D-304, 403H, and 960 through 963. It allows for an advisory commission and a required informational meeting process. Both the ordinance language and the guidelines before you tonight were reviewed by the city attorney. So with that said, a full summary of the ordinance is is located in your packet on pages 44 and 45. While this approach lacks regulatory enforcement mechanisms, it ensures that Southport does not entirely abandon its commitment to historic preservation, and crucially, it keeps the community dialogue alive. By moving forward with this commission, we would be honoring the city's investment in the 2050 comprehensive plan, as well as the participation of the hundreds of Southport residents, business owners, and municipal partners who lent their voices to this process. The complete ordinance and guidelines are in your packet, and I am glad to entertain questions if anybody has any questions about it. This was really meant to be a discussion tonight. I put it in as complete a form as I could so that we could have as good a discussion as we could have.
Any discussion, questions, board?
I have a couple of things.
Yes, Alderman Kelly.
Karen, I appreciate how much work you put into this. My concern is that I feel personally left out of what was happening. I feel like my request at the last meeting to put it on the agenda would have allowed us to have this discussion and give staff a guidance to say, okay, go out and find what the options are and bring those back to us, before we spent time and money and a lot of effort on one specific kind of option. And I understand that this is what the state statute allows, but perhaps what Southport needs is not something quite so formal. Perhaps it's something much more like the beautification committee or the garden club or something like that, where it really is less government involvement and more citizens getting involved. So that's my concern about what this is and how this came to be. So I hadn't seen this until we got our packet. And I review the packet just like the rest of us do, and I spend quite a bit of time, and I can tell how much time you spent on this, and I really do appreciate that. But I would really love to have some feedback about what all the options are, more than just what state statute says. This is the government version. I'd like to see what a truly volunteer version would look like also, without quite so much oversight and what those options look like. Thank you.
I too have,
Hey, Alderman Gross.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too have read this document twice now. And of course, every time I read it, I pick up something new that I either don't quite understand or have questions about. So I'd like to start with I don't know how many of you in the audience or those viewing here tonight have actually read Senate Bill 876. So it's very short, if I can be allowed to read it very quickly, Mr. Mayor. The title of the bill is Prevent Historic Preservation Commission and historic overlay districts in Southport. The Southport Historic Preservation Commission is abolished, notwithstanding General Statute 160D 103, GS 160D 303, and Part 4 of Article 9 of Chapter 160D of the General Statutes. The City of Southport shall not have authority to do any of the following: designate a Historic Preservation Commission, create a new historic district or historic overlay district in the city, expand a historic district or historic overlay district in the city. Any historic district in the city of Southport that is in effect on the effective date of this section shall remain in effect, but shall not be expanded. And to my knowledge, after checking with the city manager, we do not have a designated historic district in Southport. Now, as I read through this document, several things kind of caught my attention. First, in regards, and thank you for all your effort, Karen, but I also agree with Rebecca. There's got to be a better way of doing this. Our community's vision for the future was updated through public comment when 80% of the residents in the proposed historic district spoke out against a quasi-judicial regulatory approach. As I read through this document, several items came to my attention that caused me some concern. Quote, prior to issuing of a zoning or building permit for new construction, demolition, relocation, or substantial exterior alteration within the historic study area, the applicant shall, and I repeat, it's shall. It's not maybe. It's not maybe voluntarily. No, it says shall participate in one informational consultation with the Historic Preservation Appearance Commission. This is not voluntary. It is required. Further on along, this again, it states this requires one informational consultation for certain projects within the study area. This is not voluntary. The appointment of one or more aldermen by the mayor to serve as a liaison to the commission and the board of aldermen. Well, we pretty well know how that's going to end up. I don't think I'll be nominated to be on that board as liaison. To recommend that the Board of Aldermen consider further study of individual properties. Oh, so now there's language in this document to consider further study of individual properties. Individual properties will now be evaluated by others. Now, how's that make you feel? And finally, to receive and expend funds. This is language in this document. To receive and expend funds, appropriations. So now this commission becomes another line item in the Southport budget for taxpayers to fund. The document itself uses the term historic study area throughout, and that may be what's used in another state statute. But to me, this is just another play on words to avoid saying historic preservation district, which violates, in my opinion, Senate Bill 876.
Anyone else? Any other board comment?
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. This is for discussion, but it does not violate the state statute. This is the only way. How else, my question is, how else do we get it in front of people? It was constantly said. So through this process, we heard a lot of suggestions from the community back when they were trying to find a middle ground for Historic Preservation Commission. It was suggested that we only apply guidelines to new construction. It was suggested that we only do major renovations to over 50%. It was suggested that the current property owners be grandfathered in and that the guidelines only be triggered when a property sells. But the reality was not a single one of those compromises were allowed by state law. So we couldn't legally implement them. But what those conversations did tell us was very important. They validated a shared recognition that historic preservation is good for Southport's future. And the underlying sentiment wasn't that the guidelines were bad. It was simply, this is good for town, but don't make me participate in it. Don't make it mandatory. So without having some kind of structure like this, how do you get historic preservation concepts and guidelines into the hands of people other than just having it arbitrarily on a website? This is the only way the state allows us to have an advisory structure that you can get in front of people and share the information. That's what I would say about that.
As for the funding aspect, Paul, it doesn't say that it's taxpayer money, and I appreciate that you protect the taxpayers, because the other 6 of us don't seem to be doing that, I guess. But
I never said that, Robert.
well, you implied every opportunity you get.
I thank the
And
board
so-
for voting for a no tax increase on our FY 27,
Yeah, and it
and I
was a
appreciate that.
unanimous vote, 6.
And I thank you for that.
Yeah. So the funding can come from places like SHPO. And there's a lot of opportunity there where we can bring resources to our community if we have something like this. Value. It's value add is what it is. So, we support our cemetery committee. We spend money there. We have investments in our cemetery committee. So I actually see the funding as a very positive source because we can bring money in that won't cost our taxpayers. So.
SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office. No, that's fine. No, not to correct. Sometimes these acronyms, we use them a lot, and I like explaining them. State Historic Preservation Office. In medicine, we have too many acronyms, and I spend part of my time explaining them. You've got blank, I've got what? No. So anyway, there we go.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add, perhaps instead of one of the aldermen sitting at this table writing a document, perhaps we reach out to the citizens that this impacts the most. Perhaps we ask a group of citizens like Bonner Herring, Paul Swenson, Cheryl Lapala, Bob Gardner, Carl Ward, and dozens of others who sat in this beautiful facility over the last few months and wore red t-shirts. Perhaps we get their input on writing a document or drafting a document. I think that'd be a great place to start, to use our citizens and just see what their thoughts are. And maybe bring this community together.
You're here to create law. That's one of the purposes that you're here for. So any of us I'm going to write a backyard chicken ordinance. I'm going to work on that and bring that to the table. Should I take that through Mo or city? I mean, where should I start? So we're not voting on this tonight. It's up for discussion. We've heard feedback, which I thought was very good feedback. I appreciate your perspective, but we're not voting on this tonight. It's open for discussion. It's open for impact.
And we did hear from him. Look how this has changed dramatically from what it was initially proposed.
It's in keeping with what was asked.
The one section that clearly is not voluntary is substantial improvement to the exterior requires a meeting with this group.
And if that meeting can't be accomplished within 15 business days, you don't have to have that meeting.
It says then you'll meet with Ms. Mo Meehan over here, I believe, if my memory serves me correct.
Which is part of the process.
But it still requires a meeting. It still
You would have to meet anyway. Meet with them. I mean, that's would be just part of the process.
If it's truly voluntary, why are we requiring a meeting? Why are we requiring a meeting if
there's no teeth?
If it's voluntary.
There's no teeth in it anyway, so why require the meeting?
That's right, so that we have a way.
So why don't we just get rid of all of it then and let our citizens decide what they want to do with their own property?
Remove our UDO? Is that a motion? Would you like to do away with our UDO tonight?
I am merely suggesting.
Or any other ordinance that we have?
Robert, play nice.
Yeah, let's do something.
Make the motion. I'll go along with you.
We're regulating the the dickens out of people, making it harder and harder and harder. We lost our ETJ over a tree ordinance.
That was not, but I appreciate that.
Okay. So the more we dig into these regulations, the more we dig into the fabric of Southport and not letting them be who they want to be. I don't want to make any rule that's going to affect the next generation. What Mr. Miller did was cut the conversation off so we couldn't come back next week and vote, or the next week and vote, or the next week and vote. But unfortunately, the counterpart to that is it's a long-term obligation now that we can't have a historic. So that we've got ourselves so regulated that the people are tired of it and they're starting to call people over our heads. That's what's happening. So stop trying to control it. It's not ours to control. I only own one property in Southport, and if I don't pay my taxes, I won't control it. We got to get out of people's backyards and quit being so nosy about what somebody else is doing. Because I went and bought an expensive home. I want my neighbors to do what they want. And then we've gotten that way on a lot of issues. And it's eating us alive. It's dividing us. Like people said, our locals, Southport's getting not like Southport. It's not the same community. This is dividing us. Why do we keep throwing it in front of them?
The whole historic preservation in our 2014 CAMA land use plan, the number one goal and value was preserve our historic character. It doesn't just happen without dialogue, community dialogue, or we'll just let it roll till it doesn't. And our 2050 plan repeatedly talks about the value of our historic character and maintaining our historic character. So that's why the conversation, having a community dialogue that is a way to have a community dialogue about it is to my mind important.
Property rights, it's kind of interesting because we will see tonight a group of people standing up saying property rights, property rights, property rights. And we'll see another group of people saying you shouldn't be able to build 300 homes on your land. It's going to impact me and my way of life. So what is that definition? How do we determine how is one thing good to tell you you can't build as many homes as you possibly would want to, but also this is my land, I can do whatever the hell I want to with it. And both concepts are great, but you can't point to one and say you can't do that. So there's legislation, there's regulation from the state down.
We're starting to not be able to solve our own problems. So we want to go to government and make them solve our neighbors' problems for us because we can't face them and handle our own problems. And that's where we're getting at. We're trying to let government control our personal issues. And we've gotten lost in that.
Have you seen the wall at the car insurance building? Have you seen it? How close it is to Port City, Java? I don't think they can paint their siding.
Yeah, I think
I don't think they can replace their siding. So neighbors being neighbors, because that could have been there could have been some resolution there. There could have been some joint effort there. And there wasn't. And so now, how are they going to side that building in the future? How are they going to paint that building in the future?
Southport hasn't had a historic preservation commission since 1792, to my knowledge. I think it looks great. I think the culture that we have here, the way people have kept up their homes voluntarily, it's beautiful. Is there a little variation from house to house? Yeah, but that's what makes Southport so special. I'd hate for everything to look identical as I walk down the street. You look like some of these subdivisions on the outskirts of Southport where all the homes are identical. No, Southport is beautiful. The citizens have taken well care of it. And we haven't had a historic preservation commission since 1792. I don't really think we need one.
Just the last thing. We're not going back to any kind of historical presence. The historical presence was ruined in Hurricane Hazel when there were docks and fish houses out on this water instead of $5 million homes. In the world, the Mother Nature changed where we are, what we are. Everything you see here is not the way it was 50 or 60 years ago. Some of y'all might be 50, 60 years old. Do you think you're ancient? Do you think you're history? 70, 80 years ago is not a long time ago. So these things that have changed, they're for the better. They're nicer. It's cleaner. You don't have the smell from the pogey factories. You don't have to deal with the fishermen getting off their boats and interact and being not so mean, not so nice. Matter of fact, they wouldn't have liked any of us. It was a very rough place. So it's nice now. It's actually nice now. There's nothing wrong with the way we've made things. And we've gone through a lot of transitions. And individual creativity is the crux of our fabric, of what makes our community. We used to have a man ride around here with a wheelbarrow with an engine on it. And we enjoyed that. Let him ride in the parade and everything. That was our culture. I don't think that's what we're trying to preserve here. We're trying to preserve architectural things that mean nothing to me. Mean nothing to me. Community means everything. Our friendship, our relationships, that means more than what it looks like.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please, Alderman Kelly.
Noah, we have a National Register Historic District in Southport. Is that correct? Can you
Since 1980.
can you explain a little bit about what that is and what that does and doesn't do?
I'll call on Mo. She's our expert in that area.
Just stop talking.
Good evening. Thank you very much. So the difference between a national historic district and a local historic district is that while we are recognized at the national level for the homes and the structures that exist, there are no teeth. So we cannot have any regulations towards that. The only help is if a federal program or project came through, we can have some interaction with them and we can try to save things from the federal project side. But locally, we have no regulations or input on what can happen within that district.
And it's the National Historic Registry is a listing of properties that should be preserved. That's how they characterize it on their website.
Yes, and those, so when a lot of times when people are asking what is this contributing, non-contributing structure, that came from the inventory that was taken during the National Historic Registry listing.
It's a 51-page document, and not only does it have properties listed, it has a wonderful history of these properties and of our city, and I encourage you to read it. It's very well written and very well done, but it does not have any regulatory process whatsoever, but it's very good informational and about the history of our city.
We don't need any more bureaucratic red tape. We got enough bureaucratic red tape. Why do we create this? Let's move on to stuff that's important.
All right, any further discussion on this topic? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, good discussion, board, and to be continued. Our next item on the agenda, I will call on Alderman Carroll, who's going to talk about specific livestock in residential areas.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. I presented I will refer to it as a backyard chicken ordinance. I think it's the Wilmington ordinance. I think we also have our ordinance as it relates to livestock in there as well. So I will be bringing back to our August meeting a backyard chicken ordinance that will allow for chickens in the city limits. And so I've got there are quite a few people who already have chickens in city limits, even though it's against the ordinance, but it would bring them into compliance. So you will see that at the August meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next is item I3, and I just want to introduce the right-of-way ordinance discussion and enforcement. It is section 16-8. One of the things is obstruction of public rights of way, not having vegetation in there, nothing above a certain height in the right of way. Existing encroachment on rights of way, like vegetation encroachment. If they were already existing there, they can continue to stay there. But no hard structures greater than 2 inches. Exceptions are for new vegetative and parking encroachments meeting development standards outlined in the ordinance may be considered on a case-by-case basis after submission of the new rights of way permit. So staff does have some discretion. We encourage preservation, putting down gravel, previous vegetation can stay there. If there are trees there or an electric box, you can put plantings around it. There's certain diameter which you can do that. And they know if necessary for infrastructure, for safety reasons, the right of way can be accessed by the city. Ordinances can always be advised. We're always revising ordinances. And in discussion with the manager in January 2025, there were 84 violations. They have closed 82 of them. So we want to continue this discussion, and I will call on Alderman Carroll.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate us coming back to this conversation. So I think it was about 2 years ago, city staff came to us. Our ordinance didn't change all that much. If anything, it might have gotten a little more lenient. They came to us asking for clarity because there was not a very clear, we weren't forcing it or we weren't enforcing it well or fairly. And so they came to us, asked us what the intention was. And I think we clarified the ordinance in a way that really allowed staff to go about their job. Since that time, there are examples of where the right of way is not being enforced fairly or equitably. And so I just want to bring it to the board to have a conversation about how we're going to handle this issue. Are we going to do away with the ordinance? Are we going to enforce the ordinance? For those property rights folks, I appreciate that very much because this is the city's land. It is all of our land. And so it's, you know, just as much as you protect your property and yours, the city has to protect its. So any discussion about how we want to move forward with right of way?
Alderman Kelly.
I had some issue with our right-of-way ordinance initially. I think that we came to a pretty good middle ground when we went through it. I think that being able to have some parking area, being able to have some vegetation around trees and planter boxes and things of that nature. I also think that the enforcement that we have seen up to this point, as you said, has not been equally applied across the board. I think that particularly those homeowners in the historic district have seen heavier enforcement of that, especially along the waterfront. We've seen that quite a bit. I applaud those who have taken the steps to come into compliance because it wasn't easy and it wasn't an easy decision for us to make for that. And I certainly would like for us to consider those items that are already in place, as we talked about before, versus new things that are there. I believe in people's right to their property, but as you said, Alderman Carroll, it is the city's property. So we need to look again at what that middle ground is and make sure we are applying it fairly across the board. Otherwise, do away with it.
Anyone else like to
I think
discuss? Okay, Alderman Gross.
I do share a concern about equal enforcement. I go right around town in my Jeep and I see some things that are enforced and some things that aren't enforced. But I also like to use common sense. I mean, I've seen some homes that have some beautiful flowers and I know they're in the right of way, but do I want them pulled up? No. And, you know, I know I believe we have in our ordinance that in the right of way for parking number 57 Slate Stone, and correct me if I'm wrong, Karen, is the standard for that. But, you know, if somebody has a driveway that happens to go through an area of number 57 stone and they want to put number 87 stone or white stone, does that bother me? No, it doesn't bother me. It adds a little bit variation to our community. So every house doesn't look just alike. So, you know, I'd like to see us use some common sense on some of our right-of-way ordinances. And, you know, I know maybe some of the way it's written now was to achieve some common ground, grandfathering some things in. The knee walls, I guess, on Bay are one of the prime examples. No, I don't think anybody on this board would vote to tear down those knee walls. That's what makes Southport's culture. But we shouldn't be over-regulating individual property. If it's not bothering something, just leave it. And the people who put in flowers or whatever, they understand if it gets torn up because Tom Stanley has to go in with some sort of water sewer repair or something, they'll be responsible for replacing it. But you know, we got a lot bigger things to worry about in this city, including flooding. Our streets need repaving, and worrying about so minute things about flowers and somebody has something that's 1 inch too high in a right of way that probably is not even going to be torn up anytime soon for any kind of city use. So I like to see us use some common sense.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. I appreciate that though. Common sense is 3 and 4 foot fences 30 feet into the right of way. That's what we're talking about, Paul. So your flowers, good, great. But that's the insignificant. You're trying to diminish the conversation. You refer to over-regulating individual property. It's not individual property. It belongs to the city. So you're confusing, I think, maybe an easement with right-of-way. You're confusing a utility easement, which you have the right to, you know, use, with right-of-way. Those are two different things. So it's just about finding an actual path forward that's reasonable. We did that already. This ordinance it was not new to this board. It's not been new to the board since I've sat on it. It's just about how do we enforce it. People were coming, getting applications. They were being enforced, but their neighbor wasn't. Let's just find fair and equitable enforcement.
I'm all about fair.
And it's the city's property.
And fences is a different thing, in my opinion, also, Robert. That's not what I was referring to. You know, if you weren't grandfathered in for a 2-3 foot fence after the ordinance was passed, then you're technically in violation. But there are lots of other minor stuff that I wish we would just kind of be okay with it. You know, I don't know whatever happened to this one, and I don't want to name names, but on North Caswell, there's a house on the corner, and they put a swimming pool in, and they have a fence around the swimming pool to comply with the swimming pool ordinance, and they have another little small fence that was put in for their dog, and I'm not going to name the family's name, but it's so far away from Howe. I don't see anybody parking there. In fact, they could still park there horizontally or parallel with that little fence, but I was told they were told to tear it down.
So that house, I think, so that's 2 blocks off of Howe. I've been in conversation with that particular homeowner about every day. And that's my point, is how do we get to how do we have a conversation? As an example, do we want to allow fences that are, 10 feet into the right of way, but not closer than 15 feet to the road? This is discussion. It's about having, that back and forth so that we can find a solution.
Sure. And I'm fine with the discussion, but I think in that particular case, Mr. Mayor, I believe you may have even visited that homeowner and said, we're going to, I don't want to put words in your mouth. We're going to look into it and try to resolve it. And I think that was the way it should have been handled, because you can still park beside their house.
In that particular situation, it's interesting because the road sits all the way on their half of the right of way. And you've got plenty of room on the other side. So
Right.
that's just,
Yeah.
Southport.
But
So do we want to send this to staff to come back with some recommendations? Do we want to send staff some recommendations or some thoughts and find out how best to implement those? Do we want to do away with the ordinance altogether?
I think send it back to staff and they know our concerns, the concerns of the board that, let's look at, how it's being how it's being enforced. Does it need to be changed so that, people are not out of compliance, or we enforce it, one or the other? So I think that would, if there's a motion and a second, I believe, and a vote, we can certainly do that.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask the staff, I'm fine with the motion in a second. If we could ask staff to actually take pictures, it kind of helps me understand the situation a little better if we have a photo of the situation and what the rule violation is.
Is this limited to just hard structure? Because you've got people that are parking RVs continuously on right of ways and things like that on Lord Street. Is it going to leak into vehicles that are parked continually? Somebody lives there and they park their RV in the right of way?
We don't have anything right now, because a lot of people park their cars. I mean,
Yep.
Us downtown, we park our car in the right of way. So I don't know if we want to get into that type of regulation or how we handle it. Abandoned vehicles, that's wholly different,
That's code enforcement, yeah.
I don't want to be an HOA downtown. Alderman Carroll, there was another example that you gave about someone going online to do their permit, and there was a drop-down menu. I think we've done a great job creating what is allowed in the ordinance with the drop-down menu. I would love to see that be something that is followed through all the way.
Yeah, so I came across a bunch of permits that were granted. So one of the examples, thank you, Alderman Kelly. I appreciate you so much. One of the examples was a permit that the drop down said, and rightfully, where are you planting? And the only option to plant in the right of way legally is to plant within 10 feet of a tree. So obviously the drop down says tree. In this particular case, I think it was over on Clarendon. They literally dropped down, said tree, and then later said, oh, it's around an existing fence. And that particular fence was well into the right of way. So, it's skewed. That's not the intention. The intention was when you drop down, that was the option. So we just need to find what the solution is. And that was the purpose of, because I get calls every single week, guys. I mean, if we just did away with right of way ordinance, I'd pick up a lot of free time. So what's a solution that we can reach that's reasonable, allows people to do reasonable things within the right of way, if that's what we're going to allow, and go from there. So I particularly, for existing hardened structures, we can find language. I would like to not see additional hardened structures in the right of way. It's a taking, if you will. It's different if you're planting on the corner of Lord and West. Beautiful plantings, absolutely gorgeous. I think they're out of compliance with the ordinance, but the yard looks damn good. So what is the solution there? And so let's just maybe, we don't need a motion to ask staff to give this some consideration or to give us some issues where, the enforcement is a challenge. Let's just ask staff to do that. Mr. Manager, can you?
Yes, I think that would be fine. I think an ad hoc committee would be appropriate. I mean, we're going to have to work through these things. I think we need to work through that with a subset of this board before we come back. So I would suggest an ad hoc committee. Since the board wants to see changes, I think that would be great.
Can we establish that ad hoc tonight? I will volunteer.
You would like to, and who else would like to work with Alderman Carroll?
I'll be happy to.
Alderman Gross, okay. And one more, okay. Alderman Mosteller, thank you. All right, appreciate y'all. The ad hoc committee for the right of way. And some of these homes that have plantings would have to, staff has discretion. And if this home has been there for a long time and been in the family a long time and plantings were there previously, then those are allowed. So they do look at that as well. All right, ad hoc committee for right away. Any further discussion on this board? Okay, thank you very much. Excellent discussion. I'll introduce item 4, and that's we've heard some public comment on this. That's the development concerns near the River Mist community. You could say development concerns near and fill in the blank community all over Brunswick County. It's not to use a public health term, but it's an epidemic proportions now. It really is, the development. And plus, as Alderman Carroll stated, people have property rights. Do they have the right to develop their property? So there's a balance there. And I have been in contact with the POA president of River Mist, and the manager and I and city staff will be out there to schedule a meeting with those citizens, and we hope to hold a Board of Aldermen meeting there like we have in the past at the clubhouse. All of our unique neighborhoods are important to us and important to the heritage of Southport, and it's part of the fabric of our community. And development and growth, this has been an issue for a long time. We began discussing this in 2015. And how do you guide it and manage it in the best direction possible? I mean, it affects infrastructure, it affects service, it affects quality of life. And Southport is the downtown of Brunswick County, and it attracts people. Brunswick County attracts people. Development, growth, it's a robust economy. Think of Brunswick County in terms that has 2 hospitals. So people who move here feel comfortable in having health care. It has schools, it has clinics. These are things that people look at. And as you know, in terms of fastest growing counties in the United States, Brunswick County is number 6 in percent growth. But in top counties in terms of numeric growth, Wake County, the Raleigh area, is number 5. So with I-40, you got people in Raleigh coming down to Brunswick County. So we're a very popular area. And you look at the demographics, 35% of the population is 65 and over. And when you add that with 45 and to 64 is 27%, you've got, a large population that's over the age of 45. So big growth, and we want to help River Mist, and in particular, stormwater is the problem. Stormwater is a big issue, and we need to look at it in every department, Mr. Manager, that can help with this. We need to, and I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller, who will continue this discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked to put this on the agenda because our River Mist neighbors have expressed concerns about the impact of new development going on around them. This is, like you said, not unique. Our neighbors in Cades Cove have also had similar concerns with the Harper Acres project. I think it's important that we as a board discuss the city's role in these conversations with our citizens, the county and developers. Do we have standing regarding these concerns? And how do we as a board respond to these concerns? So before I continue, I want to say this as a disclaimer. My conversation is based on discussions and information shared by members of the River Mist community. This is just the beginning of a discussion. So if I misspeak, I would like to ask for some grace. So Southport Meadows is a new development adjacent to River Mist. There's a proposed expansion of this project that would add another 285 units. In 2023, the Point Grand property adjacent to River Mist was clear cut, and the property owners in River Mist have expressed concerns about increased flooding and stormwater drainage. Even though the property was clear cut over 3 years ago, the construction for this project has not yet begun. Regarding these projects, the issues that have been brought forth are impacts on existing stormwater management in River Mist and public services and safety, including flooding, stormwater drainage, traffic impact analysis reports, evacuation routes, and fire and EMS services. Mo can talk about the TIAs and because there were concerns, some of the concerns around that were expressed were the inadequacies of NCDOT traffic analysis reports. North Carolina General Assembly voted in 2017 to remove DOT engineering jobs and allow developers to hire their own traffic engineers to do TIA reports. But the TIA standards, reporting standards, are set by DOT. Citizens have expressed concern specifically that the TIAs do not take into consideration other developments in the area more than 2 years out. They don't cast a wide enough net to understand all the impacts and do not consider evacuation routes, do not consider seasonal traffic increases, and use a growth rate of 2%, which is, woefully less than what we are. In the case of the Southport Meadows project, the already approved but not yet built projects of Waterway and Turtle Bay were not included in that analysis. The original, let's see, we don't have the original plan. Okay. So Mo, you can sort of confirm about TIAs and addressing some of those. And then we've got the engineer here and the fire chief is here. So we're going to have a little.
Sure. Thank you. Really, I just want to kind of reiterate some of the statements that Alderman Mosteller was saying, that yes, the NCDOT has very specific standards and checklists and models to be run for any TIA that is brought forward for their approval. At the very beginning of any project, there is a scoping meeting between the developer, the local government, and NCDOT to go over the parameters of the TIA that will be considered for the simulations that are going to be ran, and then become part of the true analysis that is presented and to DOT for approval. So and I think that there are standards that are, across the board that they have to use. And they do consider approved developments in the area, and also growth that is considered. So that I think that there can be some wavering depending on when the project is brought forward and what is happening at the time of the TIA that is being the analysis for the TIA. So those are just some background on where they come from. But so there is a scoping meeting, and also NCDOT Division 3, we meet every other week to go over the TIAs. A lot of times there's not much other communities can do other than ask questions to make sure that factors have been included. So I try to make sure that they know if we know there's a road that is not as safe as they may not know that there's a blind spot on this curve, or there's something happening, that we know about from the city's point of view, so that can be considered and taken into account when they're looking at the approvals. So.
Mo, what would be the process? I know some of the conversation is seeming like the standards aren't robust enough for the TIA. I mean, are those national standards?
That would be state standards. So it would have to be going to the DOT and requesting that whether we can have something separate for the Brunswick County because the growth rate is so much higher than the rest of the state, or it's going to have to be conversations with DOT. Yes.
So would that be something we could pursue? I'm just trying to find out things what we can do.
Is that something? I can reach out and see if there is a process for that. And then I can bring it back to the board for
since we have such a high growth rate.
That's correct. Yes. So I'm happy to check into that. If that's the pleasure of the board.
I don't have questions.
Okay.
So I've thought about this a little bit, and I think that it might be good for this board to, if we all agree, prepare a resolution as it relates specific to this this development. And I think we should consider in the future the same. When we have things that are ultimately impacting us, and I think the 7 of us can agree that it's the 211 corridor, it's the day trippers. It's the day trippers that have some of the greatest impact on Southport and leave nothing behind. I really think we need to think about how we do that moving forward in these scenarios. And so I would propose that we do prepare a resolution in opposition. It may not help, but it might.
I heard tonight several comments from residents of River Mist, and I've got several friends in that community. It is disturbing to me to hear that another development that's in the county, or another development is going to dump their stormwater into my retention pond and cause my house to flood. That concerns me. That concerns me. And I don't think this is a problem unique to River Mist. I think there's some other communities here in Southport within the city limits where one community's stormwater pond is dumping into another community's stormwater system. So I'd like to get more educated on that, Mo, and see what our alternatives are to regulate it. But it is concerning to me. And it was brought up tonight, and I share their concerns.
We've got the engineer here that's going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. I also spoke with Chief Drew regarding new development impacts, because that was also services with the fire district. And I can ask the chief to come up and talk about that. I could tell you what he said, but he's here. So having to do with fire fees.
Yes, ma'am. Although we know that growth is important, overdevelopment without matching investments in public safety places lives at risk. As neighborhoods become denser, traffic congestions increase, emergency access becomes more difficult, evacuations are more difficult, and fire and EMS response can even be delayed because of the traffic concerns that we have. Higher density development also creates greater demands for firefighters, greater demands for equipment to be utilized in the case of an emergency or a disaster. Also greater demands for water supply, which we are actually rated right now with the state that because of the development in our specific community, we have to be able to pump 3,000 gallons of water a minute. If there's a structure fire, that is what we're required. So if the fire hydrants do not, if the water supply or the volume is not there, then we have to make sure that we have tankers and water supply on scene to be able to pump those 3,000 gallons a minute. Also puts greater demands on emergency medical services. Because the more residents you have, the more calls you're going to have. Responsible growth means ensuring that fire stations, staffing, infrastructure, and emergency resources keep pace with development so that we can continue to provide the level of protection our citizens expect and deserve. And I'll answer any questions that you may have.
I also, I think it's important to know, just from a safety standpoint, since we talked about pumping and all that, talk about how you do your hydrants and test them annually. And
yes, so the fire department goes out and we test every fire hydrant annually and do maintenance on them. We flow test the hydrants to make sure what volume they are, and you'll notice that years ago, the bonnet on top of the fire hydrant was color coded, and that tells us whether you have a flow of 500 gallons a minute compared to 2,000 gallons a minute from that specific hydrant. We don't have to color code those because of technology now, because we get all of that information on our cell phones and tablets when we're arriving on scene. But those fire hydrants do still have to be at least flow tested and checked to make sure that we have the proper water volume that we need in the event of a fire.
I think also one of the conversations that we had, talked about the increase in impervious surface and removal of trees and vegetation resulting in flooding risks. And we know we're building stormwater ponds and on the good side at 100-year storm. And Florence was a 1 in 1,000-year storm, freshwater flood event. And then the unnamed storm PC8 was 1 in 200 to 1 in 1,000 rainfall event, depending on where you were in the county. I think that's a consideration too for you.
Yes, ma'am. The last several hurricanes that we've had and tropical events that we've had, we have been inundated with water rescue calls due to flooding. We've had to rescue people from their homes, from vehicles where streets were flooded, neighborhoods were flooded, apartments, even in the city limits of Southport, were flooded, and we had to get people out and take them to shelters. That is a big concern of ours as well. We have responded to already flooding events in the River Mist community. Even some of the thunderstorms that we have can turn into major events. Not too very long ago, I guess it's been about 2 years ago, we had a sail that just sat over Southport about 8 o'clock one night for about 2 hours and dumped about 12 to 14 inches of rain on us. And we had probably about 25 water rescue events in that evening, had vehicles stranded on Leonard Street. And so all of those factors do come into play with all this overdevelopment.
And typically the county doesn't consult with fire chiefs about water infrastructure. So that's maybe an opportunity where we could reach out and work with Brunswick County.
Yes, ma'am. Matter of fact, yesterday we had our County Fire Chiefs Association meeting, which I'm the president of the county's Fire Chiefs Association. We have 22 fire departments, and we invited county representatives there to try to bridge some of that gap. We had the county fire marshal's office there to try to have some dialogue with them that we could be included in some of these planning sessions that they're having. And we've requested that the fire marshal's office at our next meeting in August do a presentation of what requirements that they would look to fire departments in planning and technical review committees with the county.
That's great. That's great. That's really all I've got. I spoke with the Brunswick County Planning Department, and there is no authorization, because there's no authorization from the General Assembly, the county cannot adopt a tree ordinance to help with the wholesale clear cutting by developers. So that's something that if you reach out to your representatives, that's something that is needed in order to stop the clear cutting. What happened at Point Grand could not happen in Southport because of our ordinance. So, so that's something to do there. So
if I could say one more thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, yesterday at our county fire chiefs meeting, we did vote. At the present time, the state fire code gives the local fire departments have a lot of jurisdiction to be able to sign off on certain things. But we voted collectively as a fire chiefs association going forward, and we're drafting a letter to send to the county right now, that if they do not have in these new subdivisions and neighborhoods, if they don't have the amount of water volume that is needed for the proper fire flow, that we will not sign off on them anymore with tanker task force or any type of alternative water method that we're going to require the county is going to have to put in the proper water volume to be able to fight fires in those areas, because the state fire code does give the chief authority to sign off on those things. But we took a collective stand as a group of fire chiefs that we're not going to do that anymore.
thank you, Chief. Yeah, well, thank you. If we could get Tom Z up, he's our engineer, y'all. That's who you want to call.
Tom says, please don't.
Nah, he loves it.
Call Ghostbusters,
Oh,
not
he
me.
loves it. I know.
The big issue with this particular development is River Mist is incorporated within the city. This development is not in the city. Therefore, the city doesn't do any reviews. I don't get any stormwater reviews on this at all. So we're kind of in the dark on what's going on. That's just the start of it. Some of the things that I have seen, because I've recently gotten some of the plans for that, there's 2 points where that property drains onto the River Mist property from 2 drainage areas. On the proposed development plan, the runoff coming from those 2 sites is being reduced by 80% and 86%. So based on the plan that was submitted, there should be a reduction in the flow coming through the River Mist through this development. And it's all coming through, I don't want to call it a culvert because it isn't. It's a drainage swale that was put there. I don't know by who, or if it was just natural. So that's, one of the things up there. It appears that the flow coming off those sites will be reduced by 80 and 86%. I'm not the design engineer. I'm just looking at a plan and seeing what's on it.
Does the city have standing regarding a discussion around the stormwater plan for Point Grand project? The reason I'm asking this is because I was sent a copy of Steve Stone, the county manager's email, and in it said the wetlands the wetlands in turn will direct their water to 2 existing outfalls, a 42-inch culvert under J. Swain Boulevard. Well, would that not be the city?
That's not a city culvert there.
It isn't.
Right. Nothing coming off this site is directly connected into any city maintained facility up there. It's an unfortunate thing.
So this is the stormwater system in River Mist is not city. It's
the stormwater system within River Mist is. The detention ponds are not. No detention ponds are maintained by city. They're all maintained by HOAs. But the underground piping system in the roadways is, and there is no direct connection from that proposed development into our stormwater system up in River Mist.
So you see how that's sort of a confusing dilemma. So the stormwater system in River Mist is city.
Yes.
But the retention ponds are the
HOA.
POA or HOA.
That's what it is for every HOA within the city, even within the incorporated city.
So,
the waters, all those developments, the city will ultimately maintain the stormwater system in the roadways. But once it gets into the detention basin, that is the responsibility of the HOA to maintain.
So someone putting water into their detention water pond, there's nothing that can be done about
nothing
that
from the city.
From the city's
it's
point
outside
of view.
of our jurisdiction. Yes.
Boy, that's odd. Did the legislature do that? No. That's a joke. Just work with me. My God, it's not that late. It's only 2 hours. Now, what I'm saying is that just, to me, to a layman, that just seems odd.
All the detention basins, stormwater ponds, whatever you want to call them, have permits through DEQ that they're required maintenance on them. Bless you. Those permits are issued through DEQ and they're issued to the developer who then turns those permits over to the HOA. It is outside of our stormwater system. That's the way it is.
So who does have jurisdiction to help the community?
The community.
Who?
The community.
They have to help
Right.
themselves.
They can go to DEQ and say, there's an issue here. You know, we don't agree with this. But like I said, it's outside of the city jurisdiction.
Okay, so but they could access DEQ and they could access their legislators and to help them with DEQ. And we certainly could write a letter of support to
the Board of Commissioners, the legislature, that kind of dialogue, I think is going to be the most powerful. Ultimately, it's going to be the county changing their UDO, which they've not been willing to do, and it's the legislature changing law, which they have not been willing to do. So I think we certainly enter into this dialogue with our counterparts on a daily basis. I think the board then has to build those relationships with the county and state, as well as crafting those letters of support. You know, we wouldn't have standing going to a meeting like the Board of Adjustment because we're not, as a city, affected by it. So I don't think we have standing to go to a meeting. I think we can certainly have those dialogues and have those support letters for sure.
So Tom, you mentioned due to some, the reduction has been 80 to 86%.
Right. 80 to one from one area, 86 from another.
So
area.
how do we get to 100%? Do we build our own berm and block it off?
I don't know that you could do that.
I'm just looking for solutions from my friendly engineer who I think highly of.
If we put a berm on that or build a berm, then we end up in civil court because we've prevented the natural flow of water.
DEQ has laws against that. You cannot change the flow of
right
of
That's,
stormwater.
You know,
that's like 101 stormwater. You can't change the flow.
Right.
And that, just so I understand, so the 80% reduction is future reduction. It's future storms. It's not what is flowing today.
No, it's
across open land.
It's an 80%. The percent of the area that is going to have rainfall directed into the river mist area is being reduced by 80% and 86%. That means 80% of the water in one area is going to go in an opposite direction into detention basins and ponds on the whatever development name is and go out, you know, in the opposite direction. The 20% remaining will still go through. So, you know, for every 10 inches of water that flows, only 2 is going to be going in the future.
So is it I'm not an engineer. I sell
And you
things.
don't play one on TV.
No, not at all. Tom, is this stormwater solution better than today?
Yes. Yes.
So what they're creating is better than today.
Yes. On paper, on design, yes. I have to say, I mean, I can't guarantee anything. I'm just saying what is shown on paper, this is what it is.
And it's all based on a 100-year storm as well.
It's based on 3 storms. It's based on the 1-year storm, the 10-year storm, and the 100-year storm, is what the designs are based on. Detention basins are basically designed for at most a 100-year storm. Stormwater piping systems are designed basically for a 25-year storm. To go higher than that is just, you can't fiscally do it. And based on our geography here, the size of pipes we would need, we can't do it, to increase it.
So after all that, I think that we come together to have a resolution that we send to the county and explain that this is affecting us. We make sure we have a dialogue going with our counterparts. I do speak regularly with our county commissioners. And then I would ask whether or not it would be appropriate for our engineer to go to one of those meetings and explain it further. I understand that we might not have standing as the city of Southport. However, we have a very large group of residents who are depending on us to stand up and do something.
Motion.
I move for that.
Third.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The motion is to, I guess, have a resolution to show our support for the River Mist community with respect to stormwater. Have our engineer involved with that as well, and to contact the Board of Commissioners in person and with letters and that type thing to see what we can do to mitigate development that is making stormwater worse.
Are we, just for discussion, are we willing to come out in opposition of this development?
If you're talking about Point Grand, I believe that's an administratively approved, already done deal. So there's no coming out against. The thing that, I mean, you can be against it, but it's by right. So, but what I was going to bring up still about for discussion is there's a public hearing July 13th for the expansion of Southport Meadows, and they're expanding it 285 units. And so one of the things I wanted to know is what was the board's one, what is our ability to do since our attorney's here, and 2, us attending. Do we want to attend this on behalf of the city and have a dialogue about this, and what is that conversation? So
Southport Meadows is not by right.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is a public hearing about the expansion.
I was referring to Southport Meadows in opposition of Southport Meadows specifically.
Okay. So did you want to include that in the motion?
I think the Southport Meadows expansion is on the other side. Does it back up to River Mist?
It's on the other side of 87. It's beside the Brunswick Little Theater.
Okay, that's what I thought it did. So I just wanted to be clear. It doesn't back up to River Mist, so it's not part of the stormwater conversation.
No, I think the concerns were there.
I feel like that needs to be a separate issue than the stormwater concerns, and let's not muddy the waters.
That's not an issue. That shouldn't be part of this. No. Okay,
So, because it's an administrative approval, the next process is a Board of Adjustment petition, which the community is involved on. The city would not have standing in that. I think certainly we're expressing today our support for the community. We have no standing in the Board of Adjustment procedure. I think our best bet is to focus on Point Grant or the Meadows project, which is at the planning board stage. I think that's where we could be the most effective at.
And then pursue creating a relationship with the county where when things abut us, that we have some kind of dialogue and our engineer can be included in that if we can create something through Rebecca's path.
So I withdraw my motion.
So noted, motion withdrawn. Okay. But we still support River Mist in their stormwater issues, and we'll do what we can to help mitigate this.
So we would not have standing to come to this public hearing.
What's the land use decision that's being noticed
Um,
for? Is it legislative?
Yes.
Public-
Then
It's a
standing's
rezoning,
not-
right? This is is this a rezoning? Southport Meadows?
I think it's redoing their project is creating a phase 4, isn't it? I've just got
Yes,
the
a
public
development
notice.
expansion, so it would be administrative approval as well.
But if that's got some
That's
sort
about
of
right.
approval, even if if a public hearing's not required, you can go to the meeting and speak at public comment, just like any other citizen could.
They're holding a public hearing at 4:00 on July 13th about this.
That's just the regular planning board meeting. So that's the regular county planning board meeting. And they're doing it at the beginning. It's in the meeting. So whether or not it's right at 4:00 or later in the day. So this is a piece of property that is on the other side of Highway 87. It doesn't abut any of our Southport property. I'm concerned about getting into that. I am, even though we might not have standing about the other community that abuts River Mist, I still feel strongly that we need to, even at public comment, get up and say something on behalf of River Mist for that. And I think that elected official to elected official, that's a wonderful conversation to have. But I think for them to hear from a professional in the field rather than from those of us who love to pretend to be experts on anything, the best thing I can do is make sure the smartest person in the room is the one that gets up and speaks at those kind of things. And I happen to be looking at the one who I think needs to be there for this particular thing, because I think that the county needs to understand at the planning board level what they're doing and how it's affecting the citizens of Southport. And I think that they think by doing the 100-year storm water retention ponds, they're helping Southport, and they don't think through what that next step is for the adjacent property.
Technically, if science works, it is helping Southport.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm trying to look at a bigger picture here. This is more than just this particular development. It happens to be the one that's being talked about right now because it's the one that currently is abutting our city limits. So it makes sense that that would be the one that we talk about. If it were Harper Acres that was the property that they were talking about, it would be something that we would go talk about in terms of Harper Acres.
But technically, I guess to my point, if we show up and we say, you're making this worse for Southport, that's not a true statement based on science. So my question is, I mean, just realistically, if you stand up there and you say, this is not good for Southport, it's based on science, it's better for Southport. And in every, if I'm not mistaken, Tom, in every scenario, no matter what the community, it's designed to be better than what it was.
Yes. Stormwater regulations, our ordinance is a reduction in the peak flow coming off a property. That's what the basis is. And, for ours, depending what storm it is, it's a different reduction. The 100-year storm has the largest reduction in flow coming off. That's, what they've done on this site.
Well, and the fundamental problem right now is they clear cut it in 23.
Yes.
And so this flooding is a result of the clear cutting
I mean,
by and large.
the flooding in the September, the TPC, whatever, we can't judge any stormwater system based on that. We had flooding everywhere. My backyard had 8 feet of water in it, which is dry. So we can't go by that. We have to go by your normal everyday, summer rainstorm, the hour of a downpour, not, 12 hours of 10 inches an hour, something like that.
So dealing with Board of Adjustment and seeing people get up and not have standing and basically be told to sit right down. The people that have standing are the technical people like Tom. So he would be able to walk into a situation and claim standing because of his technical knowledge, but our personal knowledge would just be pushed aside because it's not true standing.
So you do have to go and have standing. There's another provision in the statute that says that at the discretion of the board, witnesses can go and testify as long as it's substantial competent material. You can't be a party to the Board of Adjustment hearing, but there's a chance you can still testify as a witness. I'm just saying that's what the statute says. I'm not saying that they will. But.
Right. So with regards to that, though, you're going to witness. Not
I'm almost going to become a witness for them,
right,
when I'm asked questions about what is on the plan.
Right. So we're correct. And so that's my
crazy
concern.
as that is.
It's a legislator to legislator issue. That's where our focus needs to be. And then we can work behind the scenes with our counterparts. The meetings we don't have standing in.
So if science works, just one more time for me, Tom. So if science works, once the development is developed, these people should be better off then than they are today.
Yes. The issue is they went and clear cut it 2-3 years ago and did not start any improvements. That's one of the things that our ordinance does not allow. You clear cut and you start your improvements. The first thing you do is put your detention pond in, put your, stormwater improvements in, your roadways, your regrading, things like that. This was just a clear cut. Once you clear cut, you've now increased the flow coming off it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Engineering is fascinating and it's very helpful. And this is a difficult issue. Stormwater is a difficult issue. And we'll continue to work on it and support the best way that we can. Absolutely. Anything further, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I'd just like to ask Mo and Noah if they would kind of put their heads together and after all of this discussion to see if there are things that we can do that we don't have to wait on. If it's one of the things is trying to figure out how to work together with the county, different things like that. And let's go ahead and pursue this as quick as possible without coming back to us.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Good discussion. Item 5, Board of Adjustment appointment, Alderman Spencer.
Mayor, I really want to tell you how much I appreciate you putting me on this board. And that's sarcasm. We had 4 applicants, 4 positions. We filled all the positions but one. We got into a discussion about someone having violations, but no one can cite violations for an applicant who wanted to, well, he applied to multiple boards. And we've got room on the Board of Adjustment. I'm bringing the nomination back for the vote for Jerry Rivenbark for Board of Adjustment. I make a motion to approve his position as the final member of the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, we have a motion for Jerry Rivenbark as a member of the fill a position on the Board of Adjustment. Is there a second?
I'll second that so we can go to discussion.
We have a second by Alderman Kelly. Any discussion?
Has Mr. Rivenbark solved his issues every issue that he has? Every issue. There's a nod from the Public Works. We've gotten thrown into a neighbor dispute when I'm not the neighborhood police. I know Mr. Rivenbark from helping a client of mine trying to do some landscape work. And we've come up to these things where the city wants us to maintain our property, but yet you can't improve it. There's some contradictions in our rules, and Jerry and I both discussed them, and he was interested in taking part and learning how the process worked. Instead of being dumbfounded by what's happening, he wanted to take part. He applied for every single board that we offered. And I'm going to give him a chance to participate. And I do appreciate the second. I hope we will nominate him, and hopefully we won't have a lot of problems in Board of Adjustment.
I just want to re-verify, Mo, you were shaking your head that at our last meeting, it was brought up that Mr. Rivenbark may have some outstanding code violations, but so we were waiting for the city to get back with us to verify, does he or does he not?
We had sent out a letter on Monday, the 6th, stating that they had not come into compliance, or this property owner had not come into compliance, and then issued a civil violation. As of today, I was called to come do a site visit, and all of the issues that were cited in that letter that they had to correct to come into compliance have occurred. The fine will still need to be paid, or he can appeal the fine.
There's nothing in the UDO or the ordinances that say that a person can't participate in one of our boards because of one of these infractions. Is that correct?
Yes, we reviewed the UDO, and there isn't anything that states that because somebody has violations, they're not allowed to serve on the board.
And this gentleman was a part of Southport Strong and raised $100,000 for Southport Cares. I appreciate his hard work on every angle. I hope that he can resolve his personal problems. Again, I'm not the police to protect or get in the middle of a neighborhood battle. If there's legal issues, you need to follow through with legal issues. That's the truth. But I'm going to continue, and I appreciate the second.
Mo, just one more quick question. I've received several emails from residents that abut Jerry's property, and couple of things they mentioned were the berm. Is the berm that was constructed legal? Is it in compliance?
Yes.
It is legal and it is currently in compliance.
Yes, we don't have any development standards for berms.
Did you have surveyors go out and determine if he had violated any Department of DEQ violations?
I did not know.
There was a survey that went out there, though. I've talked to him.
I believe there was, but I was not involved in that process.
Okay, all right.
What did he say?
There was no trespass. There was no trespass on the berm in any location, and that he hadn't cleared. You're talking about a 3-acre tract that is for one person. 3 acres could be turned into a 15 or 20 unit subdivision, but yet this is one person's property. Talk about rainwater runoff. He's preserved 3 acres. I don't think anybody in here's got 3 acres. I'm not. Yep. So I'm impressed by what he has done, and he hasn't violated any law. Can I get the police in here? Where is the police? Todd.
We should not be talking at each other like this in that regard, but thank you.
I'm struggling because I don't think I've had more people reach out to me on a single topic in a long time. So, to Paul's point, 80% of the community spoke, and I got about 100% of them that called me.
It's not a public hearing in this regard. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? The problem that Alderman Davis is not available. No. And is that a technical issue or?
Yeah, there's technical issues with her. So we can not count her as present and have those here, or we can excuse her from voting. The problem is parliamentary procedure under state statute. If somebody comes into a meeting, which she was here at the beginning, she would be counted as yes for all motions. She wants to be counted as no. So procedurally, we would have to excuse her from voting for the meeting since she hasn't been able to do the technology issues.
Also looked at our remote participation policy, and it basically states that you have to go and be present, able to hear, and that type of thing. So by virtue of the policy, her not being online, the appropriate one would be for the mayor to go and excuse. But I think the person or the remote policy itself would de facto make her not present. But to Noah's point, it might be good for parlor, procedure wise, to go ahead and excuse her.
Is that done by vote or is it just, okay? Does it need to have a motion or? Okay,
Yeah.
we need to have a motion to excuse Alderman Davis from
So
me.
can I understand? So she's not online or she's not on the phone or?
She couldn't get neither one of them. She was having difficulties with both. So if we count her as being here with technology from the beginning, it will automatically count as a yes. She wants to be voted no. So the only way to mirror that or solve that issue is to excuse her from not voting at all.
Do we know that she wants to vote no?
She voted no last time. This is the second
Okay,
vote.
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't.
But legally, we couldn't count a no if she's not virtual and able to say that.
Well, I would ask that we table this and bring it back to y'all consider that in the motion to table it to the next meeting. If we tabled it to this meeting to have this dialogue, then I don't see any.
Alderman Spencer said call the vote.
Did we have a vote on this last?
Yes.
We voted on this last month.
Yes, we voted on it and it failed 4-2. And then it was brought back that seat 4 to be reevaluated this time.
And can you, what was the vote? The four, yeah, I understand, but who voted how?
Okay, so Alderman Spencer and Alderman Gross voting yay. Everybody else was no.
It was my understanding that we voted to table it till this month to get an answer as to whether or not Mr. Rivenbark had any outstanding code violations.
Yes, sir, that is correct. But the first motion was for Jerry Rivenbark.
We had a motion, but then we voted to table it till this month.
No, sir.
No.
We voted because somebody wanted to go ahead with the vote for Jerry. So they called the vote and it was 4-2. Then Alderman Kelly made a motion to bring back the 2 seats, which was amended to just for seat 4. And then that was voted on and passed.
To bring it back up tonight.
And you sent us the email today with all of the violations historically?
I sent it yesterday.
Yesterday, excuse me.
Yes. And with the current civil one that was abated today.
Yep.
Well, it seems that with an alderman being down.
You know what? It'd be the same. We do the same thing if it were different. So I'm good calling the vote. I'm sorry. but it didn't play out the way we wanted it to. And that's
Well, I
that.
mean, we don't know his vote, but so everyone's good with Alderman Davis not being here.
Yes. I'll make a motion to excuse Alderman Davis.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? So it's 3-2. Okay. All right. So Alderman Davis is excused. Thank you. And we have a motion and a second for Jerry Rivenbark for Board of Aldermen. Well, that's right. Board of Adjustment, excuse me. And Board of Aldermen, right now. Yeah. Board of Adjustment. All in favor? All opposed? 3-2. Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Board. The next item will be item 6, H1, that was on the consent agenda. This is the EMS franchise agreement between the City of Southport and Brunswick County, which allows the city to operate our EMS program. The agreement is in the agenda packet, and this comes under North Carolina General Statute 153A, which establishes the legal framework for county agreements, outlines the structure of the Board of Commissioners, taxation authority, regulatory powers to protect citizens' health, safety, and welfare. The agreement states, North Carolina General Statute 153A, it authorizes counties to enter into contracts and to franchise ambulance services. Also in the agreement, Brunswick County Code of Ordinance, Chapters 1 through 9, Public Health and Safety, Article 2, ambulances. The franchise ordinance regulates the operation and franchising of ambulances within Brunswick County. And as we know, the North Carolina General Statute, Chapter 160A, covers cities and towns. And this will be Articles 13 and 14, which includes law enforcement and fire protection. And this authorizes municipal corporations to make contracts and to have and exercise all powers necessary and to affect any and all of the purposes for which the corporation is organized. So therefore, the parties hereto seek to provide ambulance services and or special rescue services, like a transport. And it's a one-year contract. And it includes standby responsibilities that Chief Drew has talked about before in the past. Medical control of the ambulance services shall be subject to the protocols and policies as established by the Brunswick County Medical Director and the Brunswick County EMS System Plan. So our EMS is under the county, and that's how it operates, even though it's stationed here and it's a city franchise that operates under the county. And what we are looking for is funding assistance from the county and legislatively, and we're already working on this for our next year's budget. So I will turn this over to City Manager for any further discussion.
Yes, sir. As the mayor says, this is our agreement we've had in place with the county for EMS services over the last few years. So it extends our franchise for the year to allow us to continue to operate as we have been. Some on the board have expressed interest in looking at other opportunities with the county, so we will do that as we go forward. But happy to answer any questions or have Chief Drew answer any questions.
Board, any questions or comments?
Just a couple questions. I've been asked questions from some of our constituents. One of the questions I've been asked is, what is our assigned territory for EMS? Is it just the Southport city limits, or do we go outside the Southport city limits and also cover the same area as our fire department?
I have circled, what is the franchise area?
You see where we have to have Chief, you can speak to this, but we have standby protocols, and when, since we operate under the county, we will go outside of the city of Southport. But Chief, if you could elaborate.
Our EMS district mirrors our fire district.
So our EMS district aligns with our fire district, which goes outside the city limits. And since we already know that legally the county's responsible for providing this service, but Southport is elected to continue to provide our own service, including an area that doesn't support Southport city residents. How much money, if anything, Chief or Renoa, does Southport receive for providing services to residents, EMS services to residents who live outside our city limits?
We charge the same thing that the county charges when we transport a patient.
Is that zero? Or if insurance covers it?
It's not zero. It's whatever the county charges for a basic transport. That's what we charge. Whatever they charge for a ALS transport or a paramedic transport, we charge the same thing.
So there's a chart, a fee chart, similar to our general fee structure, based on what the transport is, based on the insurance coverage. So we receive those funds, whether it's inside the city limits or outside the city limits.
There are no more free rides.
No.
We don't take people and not bill them anymore.
No.
That's the thing of the past.
Right.
Yeah, I guess what this all leads up to, and we've already passed the budget for FY27, is the EMS budget is 1.5 million. Our anticipated revenues are 400,000. So the net cost to the city of Southport taxpayers is $1.1 million to continue to operate this way. But those who live outside the city limits aren't contributing towards that $1.1 million. And, you know, I'm not opposed to Southport continuing EMS if the county would chip in, and if the county's 75% of our EMS district, why aren't they paying 75% of that $1.1 million deficit we have in the EMS budget?
That's why I said at the end of my comments that we are going to be looking for different funding from our legislature and from the county, because that is what would be fair and appropriate. Similar to what we have in our fire district, I think that's something that we're going to need to look at. Absolutely.
This is just an operational contract, y'all. This is the same contract we had last year, right, Brady? So this is just, we need to just, this is an operational contract.
This is just to operate. This has nothing to do with funding, but I understand what your concern is.
I think it's to bring up, I think it's the point is to bring up taxpayers again. And you want to see how many times I can say it?
And the standby is what? Station 4 and 5?
And that was going to be my other question. Will you just remind me where stations 4 and 5 are, please?
Boiling Springs and St. James.
Thank you. And
How often?
St. James, is that, well, the one behind Generations Church back there, or is it actually in St. James?
That's correct, behind Generations.
Thank you.
How often do we have to do that? Station.
Since the last controversy with the franchise agreement that there was such a public display about, we have not been on standby one time since then.
So this is just so our EMS can operate. That's really all this franchise. And the fact that we had to take it off the consent agenda seems, you know, a little over.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve this franchise.
Thank you, Alderman Spencer. We have a motion and a second.
I absolutely appreciate Mr. Gross looking through this issue, digging in it, learning. It's very important that we figure it out. It's our Achilles heel.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously on the franchise agreement. Thank you. Next, we will have, I believe, item J, and that will be committee reports. Alderman Gross.
Excuse me, the ABC board's not met since our last meeting, so I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Alderman Spencer.
Board of Adjustment is now full, and I appreciate that vote. My phone has died, and I was giving talking points by my chairman. I'll try to remember them. I think that Generations Church is going to come and help us do some cleanup in the old cemetery, and we're appreciative for those people coming and trying to help. I think there's an initiative to start some kind of a group for the old cemetery to try to go in and maintain that more, because we've given up the contract, that we're going to see if we can subsidize that with volunteers. The cemetery committee, I'm very thankful that y'all gave them some money to work with, because I think they'll squeeze every dime out of it and we'll get a lot out of that money. I'm very proud of Mr. Ashley. We reappointed him. He's researching. We're working together on software issues, short term and long term. I'm very proud to be part of that's something that I will never regret, being a part of the cemetery committee. It's absolutely one of my favorite things. It's a pain, but it's very important. And one day I hope to make it there.
No time soon, please.
No time soon, but I'm very honored that I know where my body will be laid to rest. And that's very reassuring.
Alderman Kelly.
Alderman Mosteller, will you take the planning board? When we get to you, I just didn't want to skip over it. Okay, thank you. So I will talk briefly about the 4th of July Festival Committee. This group of people have worked tirelessly over the last, year, but in particular, the last few weeks to make sure that our festival went off as smoothly as possible. And I think it was beautifully accomplished. I was really proud to be part of that committee and the group of volunteers that did everything from making sure the run went off in the early morning hours to the fireworks and everything in between. The people that came to town were generally very happy. It was really nice to see everybody out and having a great time. I was all over the place as I host the Miss North Carolina team this year, and was all over pretty much every event you can think of with her and my children. And it was a really wonderful thing to see. The Declaration of Independence was read 3 different times throughout the festival, and I got to be there for each of those readings as well. And then at the end of the fireworks display, while our chiefs were out making sure that all of our citizens and visitors were able to get to wherever they needed to go safely, my children and I stopped at the corner of Moore and Howe Streets and took a picture with Tom Stanley and his crew, who were standing by waiting to get started on the cleanup. And I took a video on the 5th, sitting on the swings down at the waterfront, having lunch with my son, and said it was amazing that the night before we were packed watching fireworks, and you never would have known there was anything that happened just the day before. So I'm really proud of everyone involved, our city staff, our 4th of July committee, and really all of our citizens for welcoming people into our town so graciously. With that being said, I'm hopeful that we can get some communication out prior to the parade next year about what an appropriate time would be to set our chairs and tents out. And I hate that we have to go there, but I think that that is the direction that we're moving as a whole. And I am so proud, truly, of our town for welcoming everybody, and hopefully we will do it again. We won't take a big break this year. We have another fundraiser that's going to be happening in September, I believe, for the 4th of July festival. So everybody get ready for that. And then we'll be bigger and better next year. So that's my 4th of July.
Thank you. I don't know how you can be bigger and better, though. This one was unbelievable, the 250th, but thank you. Alderman Carroll.
Parks and Rec is still a department, and we have a for now, and we have the gym open. So we're seeing a lot of kids showing up, and that's exciting. And forestry meets, I believe, next Tuesday.
Thank you, Alderman Marsteller.
Thank you, Mayor. With regard to the Beautification Committee, at June's monthly workday, Southport Beautification volunteers finished their spring task. 19 workers spread out around town and put finishing touches on various projects at the Waterfront Park and along Bay Street. They continued staining and painting swings along Nash Street. Weeding was done around the restroom building, as well as the fire substation, raised beds, and the roundabout on Moore. A small group did routine weeding and fertilizing the rose bushes. On the Garrison lawn, weeding and trimming was done on the monument beds in anticipation of this of the flag when we did the flag raising. Since then, due to the summer heat, beautification will not be doing monthly work days in July and August. However, they are doing pop-up projects like building 4 new Adirondack chairs for the Garrison lawn. The regularly scheduled cleanups will resume in September, so mark your calendars for Saturday, September 5th, and plan to join us at 9 a.m. at Rhett Street. The next beautification committee board meeting will be this coming Monday, July 20th at 5 o'clock at the Indian Trail Meeting Hall, and the public is always invited. The planning board has a few things they would like to share. The UDO work the board will be discussing is proposed data center text amendment at its next meeting on July 16th, with a goal of having it brought to the aldermen in August. Given that their scale and operation demands can create significant off-site impacts, including noise, water use, power infrastructure demands, heat, lighting, traffic, and compatibility concerns that require careful siting and performance standards to protect nearby properties and public welfare. Other projects include the UDO rewrite updates. The board will be developing a UDO rewrite metrics based on the Southport 2050 comprehensive plan with an assist from the staff. This will help establish what the planning board would like to see in the future rewrite. Planning board and planning staff will also be seeking input from the Board of Aldermen. A text amendment document they're working on. The board is continuing to work on this text amendment document format with the goal of making the text amendment recommendations clearer on zoning matters for the Board of Aldermen and the public. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Manager's report, item K.
Thank you, Mayor, board members. I'll just echo the 4th of July sentiments. It was great to be here for my second 4th of July festival. Bigger, better than last year. Shout out again to staff. Staff works around the clock, literally before, during, and after events to make it all possible, as well as the 4th of July festival and our many volunteers and state and county federal partners that make it all possible. So just a great events week there with the 4th of July. So I really enjoyed that and appreciates everybody making it safe and fun for our residents and visitors. The Southport Fire Department will be hosting their annual Kids Fire Camp coming up July 28th through the 31st for kids ages 4 to 12. That'll be daily from 10 to 2, again, the 28th or the 31st of July at the fire department. So call them today to get your little ones signed up for that. That's all from me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mayor's comments, I just have a couple. Again, July 4th, fantastic. What a wonderful event for Southport, for the citizens who came. Had their homecoming with families, friends, the city's involvement, just marvelous. Our 2 aldermen, thank you all for all you did for it and to keep it going. And it just a wonderful, wonderful event. The volunteers, the festival committee. So we look forward to next year. Also, I attended with Planning Director Maureen Meehan. We attended the Brunswick County, they had the Cape Fear Rural Planning Organization. It was held at the county complex. And this was the prioritization of highway projects, DOT projects, and the explanation for that and review those projects. And we'll continue to attend those meetings and work with the Rural Planning Organization concerning Southport's needs and Brunswick County's needs in terms of mobility and road projects, and which includes the ferries and the aviation. So it was a very good meeting. Good meeting this evening, and appreciate everyone's input. Staff reports are in your packet, and now we'll go with board comments. Alderman Gross.
Just to echo what everyone has already said. 4th of July Festival is probably the best I've seen in 20 years. And I was there on how with 7 guests that I had for a week in my house, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. Chief Drew, Todd, Tom Stanley, EMS, everyone did a wonderful job. And it was the best one of the 20 consecutive years that I've attended. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Spencer.
It is beyond fun to participate in the festival organization. Todd and I are building a bunch of memories. We've been hijacked, and we've had to stop the fireworks before. And I'm going to just tell you, those 2 items were not expected for the 4th of July, but we have a lot of fun, and we're making a lot of stories. Like they talk about the gentleman coming up to them and talking about the stories of the past. We're wearing out our stories. We're having a blast. And I would encourage everyone to participate in the 4th of July festival. But I don't want to get lost with it. 50,000 people is great. I'm proud. My ego is bursting that 50,000 people love my hometown. That's great. But I can't let them come and wear and tear and not try to make something out of it. The 4th of July is an economic engine. We cannot get lost. Everything we do with the 4th of July is it's not about the party. I'm not here for the party. I'm here for the longevity of this community and to try to use this process. There's a lot of money flowing through this system now. And I think that the 4th of July needs to be building things year after year, projects, maybe a stage somewhere that's used forever, things that we use all year round. Use this event. As I was riding on that parade, on that float at the end and seeing all these people, we just want them to spend their money, help our businesses, and for us to really thrive. And so I'm very proud of the 4th of July and what it's become. But we have got to monetize it just like we've got to monetize everything else. It can't just be about the party and how big a party we can throw. There's no sense in that. There has to be reason behind it. So I believe that we need to fine tune the process, and we're going to work on the 4th of July committee to make sure that the people that are entering those events are getting something back. They're helping their business. They're getting more clients, more activity. And I want to make that happen. You know, I can't do anything without making some software. So I had to make me some software, and I made a parade software to keep track of all the units. And I started thinking about it. Well, if everybody could connect to each one of these units, when the dog club comes by and you want to join the dog club, it should be real easy to join the dog club. It shouldn't be a hard process. And we want to make it to where that connectivity works for every single unit and that they get their money's worth out of doing this parade. It's not just a party. So very proud of what has happened. And I'm very proud of Charles and Todd and all the people that work 24/7. We get up here at the table once a month. We do some things, but they're the ones putting in all the work, and Tom Stanley as well. So I'm very thankful for that. Condolences. I have to give condolences. People that pass away that I can't just act like it doesn't matter. We lost last month, Brandon Matthews, who was a young man who fell out of a tree, was in a wheelchair for 15, 18, 20 years. Every year we had a fishing tournament in his name, the Bay Creek Classic. And he brought us together with fishing tournaments. His tragedy brought us together. And so it was sad to see Brandon finally succumb to his injuries. And then one more person that I have to speak about. Her name is Evelyn Teal Kesmile. I knew her as Teal Butler. And truly, 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 Teal was the first political campaign I was ever involved in. And I was about 11 or 12 years old, sitting at a kitchen table, listening to her talk about running for hospital board. And it intrigued me. And so we're going to miss Teal Kesmile Butler, a local, a true local. So we're going to keep going and try to hold down the fort for those that have passed on. I appreciate the time, the opportunity. Appreciate Mr. Miller bringing us some money. I hope that we can use that money wisely, not just spend it on a big fireworks display. I'd like to invest in Southport every year with the 4th of July and have it do something for us every year. I'll leave it alone. I'm so tired and I'm hungry. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Alderman Kelly.
I would like to shout out to the Diamond Youth Baseball program here in Brunswick County. At Smithville Park 2 weekends ago, the 8U state tournament was held right here. Our 8U players unfortunately didn't win. They were the runners up, but they played a fantastic game, and it was a heartbreaker that last play that the other team won. But they were such good sports about it and stood with their heads held high, and lots of very proud parents and family members and friends who were out there, which was really great to see the support of the community out there. I attended the Cape Fear RTAC meeting in June on the 19th at the Cape Fear Council of Governments building in Wilmington. We were talking about funding and prioritization for RTAC coming in. One of the things that I brought up and we discussed and I shared with Chief Coring was feedback I've gotten over and over again is it kind of looks like those bridges are pretty close to being ready to open. So the question was posed, when are we going to get our bridges? And I have heard from many people that it looks very frustrating because it looks like, at least for a while, that anything had stopped that was going on those bridges. What I learned from that meeting was there were some pieces of equipment that they had been waiting for, that they were supposed to have in place in June that got pushed back at least 30 days. Before that they can move forward with anything else on the bridges. So should be soon. And the way that they described it was going to be a lane shift once we got those bridges open. So I'm not exactly sure what that means, but things will be happening soon with that. And the other question that I posed was with our East Coast bikeway that is supposed to be coming across Carolina Beach and down to 11. I did ask the question if they put bike lanes on the new bridge, and everyone kind of looked at me like I had 3 heads. So I don't think that there are bike lanes on our new bridges. And that I don't believe we have a meeting in July for this, but it will be again the following month, and I will report back anything of interest that comes up at that meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Alderman Carroll.
So this 4th of July festival, I think, was probably my 39th. And it was incredible. It does not get old. Watching it, I had a couple of moments where I just took a step back and I got to watch my kids on the pier watching the fireworks. I got to see Mark and Renee with Levi. I mean, it was incredible. And so there were several moments that will probably last a lifetime. That for me was pretty special. As it relates to the ordinance that I'm going to work on with regards to backyard chickens, any feedback or thoughts that y'all have between now and next month, what what I pose is that we have standards for coops, we have standards for cleanliness, we have standards for setbacks from other properties. And I would also go so far as to say that the ordinance should only apply to conforming lots. So if you're in a non-conforming lot downtown and I just happen to have a conforming lot, but if you're in a non-conforming lot in downtown, that puts you up against your neighbor within 2 feet in some cases, I wouldn't pose that we allow that. So any feedback or thoughts y'all have, just let me know.
Alderman Marsteller.
Thank you, Mayor. There are not many people left, but I want to be on the record. I do have additional comments. I think it's critical for our community to understand exactly how things are operating in Raleigh now, because of the decisions made by our state representative, because the decisions being made by our state representatives are having very real immediate consequences here at home. Last month, the North Carolina League of Municipalities reported that the future of the legislation meant to fix the statewide downzoning issue was uncertain. If you'll recall, days after the downzoning legislation passed in late 2024, we learned that the downzoning language was added at the absolute last minute, and it was literally placed on page 131 of a 132-page bill, Senate Bill 382, which was supposed to be about Western Carolina disaster relief and technical budget modifications. Municipalities and counties across North Carolina immediately spoke out. Here in Southport, our representatives assured us it would be fixed. And yet, when the state Senate created Senate Bill 587 to fix the problems caused by the downzoning law and sent it over to the House leaders completely gutted it. The House stripped out every single word of land use authority language and replaced it with a totally unrelated issue about wake surfing safety. Yes, wake surfing safety was the language they put in. It's hard to believe a bill meant to protect local zoning control became a bill about wake surfing. I can't even say it. Wake surfing safety. Why does this matter to Southport and Brunswick County? To understand that, we have to look at what happened to our extraterritorial jurisdiction, the ETJ. In June of 2024, through House Bill 911, our local representatives stripped Southport of its ETJ. That single act transferred planning and zoning control of approximately 1,900 acres outside of our city limits directly to Brunswick County. One of the primary purposes of the ETJ was to allow Southport to manage growth along our entry corridor on North House Street from 12th Street to Highway 87. That starts just 12 blocks from the river. This corridor shapes the very first impression people have of Southport. It is vital that future development reflects our scale, character, and sense of place. Immediately after losing the ETJ, our city staff began working cooperatively with the Cape Fear Council of Governments and Brunswick County planning staff to explore an entry corridor overlay district. We wanted a compromise that kept development consistent with Southport's Unified Development Ordinance. We worked for 6 months to create an overlay zoning proposal for the parcels between 12th Street and Highway 87 that are now under county zoning. Then in December of 2024, the state's downzoning law hit. This downzoning law effectively blocked the city from being able to work with Brunswick County to complete a cooperative entry corridor overlay district. On top of that, Representative Miller recently succeeded in de-annexing an additional 2.5 acres right in our entry corridor that is now in the process of being rezoned by the county to replace the Southport zoning that used to apply. Taken together, these actions directly threaten our gateways and our streetscapes. We are already seeing the consequences. If you'll look at the screen, Brunswick County is currently conducting a concept review for a project at 1226 North House Street named The Plaza. As presented, it features over 19,000 square feet under roof, a 6,000 square foot restaurant on the first floor, and 10 offices stretching across the second and third floors. It includes only 28 parking spaces. The building would face 13th Street with its side elevation forming the Howe Street streetscape. The issue here isn't whether the development should happen. The issue is whether the development at the very entrance of Southport should reflect our character and long-term planning or be dictated by county zoning, which helps drive intense redevelopment pressure. Even the 27,000 square foot car insurance building downtown, although approved before the ETJ loss, shows the massive redevelopment pressure Southport faces as the county grows exponentially around us. At a recent Brunswick County planning meeting, their own consultant explained that they were having to draft different versions of their new UDO because no one knows if the legislature will fix the downzoning issues. This is not good government, and this is not good planning. Southport should have the right to work with Brunswick County on reasonable, locally appropriate planning tools to protect our entry corridor. I say all this tonight to urge our residents, if you care about preserving the character of this city, reach out to our local state representatives. Please ask them to fix the downzoning statute so Southport and Brunswick County can legally work together to protect our gateway. Looking at the scoreboard of what has happened to our town in just a short window of time. We were stripped of our ETJ, losing planning control over 1,900 acres that define our gateways and bordering development. We were handcuffed by a downzoning legislation that stalled our efforts to mitigate some of the potentially damaging impacts caused by the stripping of the ETJ. We watched pieces of our entry corridor get de-annexed by a state-level local bill. And we became the first municipality in the state of North Carolina to have our right to create a historic preservation commission or local historic district designation abolished. Finally, as a community of just 4,200 citizens, we need to step back and look at this big picture and ask ourselves, what is the true long-term cost of this continued state overreach?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
can I get a piece of that, please? I need to follow up with what she said.
please.
There's good news. I don't want to call it, I don't want to play victim, but I do want to say that there are people who have realized that our development individuals, our people working in the planning and all, get the job done. And they've decided that they want to join the city because they can deal with a better group of people that get their issues solved. I think Ms. Lucinda Arnold is asking for annexation on a commercial building because she says the county's not helping her and she wants help, and she gets a better solution from our department. So we've got to figure out how to make people want to be a part of Southport, not have to be a part of Southport. We've got to get some kind of a bait, something that makes them want to join us and not be away from us. There's a downside to what Charlie's doing. Okay, there is a downside. My fear is that municipalities will be eroded away. It's expensive to keep coming up with this pork barrel to fund this and fund that. The legislators, they can't get all the money that everybody needs. So municipalities have become a thorn in their behind. Well, municipalities also give us political unity. If we didn't have Southport, who would we be with? We'd be a group of one. But we have this community called Southport. And the one thing I'm worried about is that we're eroding the municipality standing and trying to regionalize everything. Yes, we pay police double, we pay ambulance double, sometimes fire. And ultimately the people are tired of paying double taxation, and I'm afraid that one day there will be no Southport. And again, when there is no Southport and somebody comes and picks on one individual, there is no unity. You're just by yourself because there is no collaborative Southport or no political unity. So there's an unintended consequence that comes from this legislation. And that's what I'm worried about more than anything. Not the short term, but what it's going to do to us long term to where we might not even have a city one day.
All right, thank you. Good meeting tonight. Thank y'all for sticking it out, gentlemen. And appreciate staff being here. Thank you so much, chiefs. Madam Clerk, Cheyenne, thank you. If Maureen is still here, thank you. He's still here. And First Lady, thank you. A motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor? Motion adjourned. Thank you.